The Black Channel. Do you hear that sound? That's the blood-curdling sound of a bunch of people who used to be talking a bunch of trash, panicking. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you all live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, just to warn you all in advance, this will be a little bit of a slow roast and a little bit of a slow bake here tonight, because I don't want you to rush through this. This is not fast food. This is fine dining. This is gourmet dining here. And I want you to savor every delectable bite, with the full knowledge that, by the way, the restaurant hasn't even opened for business yet. What? And already the aroma wafting out of it is absolutely delectable. And the standard that I've always brought you all: do not believe me. I could be deceiving you. I could be exaggerating. I could be making it up. Believe my enemies. Believe our adversaries. Don't believe me. Believe them and what they say, and see if they're confirming what I've told you. Well, first off, I want to give you all a little bit of a background here. So about the first 10 minutes, I want to give you a little bit of a background here so that you can have an idea of what's going on. Whole lot of folks out there, especially in the white supremacist corporate media, and when you see them yelling and screaming about something here and telling you what you better not do, then it's probably in your interest to do the opposite. CNN is letting you know that they are very, very worried. Why? A lot of fear. Trump's deportation proposals are already rattling workers. The man ain't even in office yet. They're already worried. In the restaurant business in certain areas they're talking about there, they said there are an estimated 10.5 million is not undocumented immigrants, it's illegal aliens. And actually the number is higher than that. In the U.S., according to the Global Migration Center at the University of California, Davis, of those, about 8.5 million are employed. They're not even supposed to be standing on the soil. Business owners, industry members, and economists alike warned that large-scale deportations of undocumented immigrants, along with stricter border measures and the revoking of Biden-era protections, could have a seismic impact on the labor market and the U.S. economy. Isn't that very interesting? Black people being decimated was never a concern for the economy. All of a sudden, CNN is the spokesperson for big business. And don't worry, the Young Turks and the rest of them are right there with them, even though they try to pretend not to be. Everybody defends big business interests. No one wants to defend mathematics. They don't want to defend mathematics, just big business interests. Critical industries such as agriculture, leisure, and hospitality. This is why you can't get the old niggas to help you. Critical industries such as agriculture, leisure, and hospitality, construction, and healthcare could take, you see the word is could take. Could take. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and throw this up on the screen for you all. You see this says it could take. They're sitting up here. You know you're dealing with fear mongering when they're telling you, well, this, according to us at CNN, this could happen to you if you don't do what we tell you. Remember, just like COVID, if you don't do what we say, all hell could break loose. Could break loose. It could be the end of the world. Says who's? Well, it could happen. Could. That's right, and that's why it's absolutely certain you better do what we say. Well, I want you all to keep this in mind. Take a look at the things they named off here. Agriculture, leisure, and hospitality. So your Tom Joyner cruise ships. You want to know why it is that so many of the old niggas out there are not putting up a fight against this? Because they're not in the workforce anymore. And besides, their Tom Joyner cruises and whatnot, they don't give a damn who it is, who's making the beds or who's cleaning the ship or whatever, just so long as they get to take their old, wrinkled, decrepit asses around. They don't care who's doing it. Shrinking worker supply in a period in which those sectors need more workers or having a hard time finding workers will clearly generate a slowdown, Perry said. That will probably, do you all see these could words? It could do it, it might, it's possibly. All these speculative words, they've written a whole article speculating they were acting at the beginning as if they were absolutely certain. Now every word they're saying, well, this could be bad. This might do it. So recognize when someone is trying to deceive you for their own petty interests. That will probably shrink the sector. They will not fill vacancies. Some companies will close. Some will slow down. Excuse me, people, companies are always closing and slowing down. Companies are constantly slowing down and closing. When they find a more efficient way of doing what they're doing, then they start closing down. They never stop doing that. And then a lot of other ripple effects can happen that can slow growth and reduce the size of the economy. As if we can't get machines to do this stuff. Front lines of our U.S. food system. Oh, here they go, boy. They think they're going to frighten you now. Here we go. Mass deportations of illegal aliens would likely slash farm labor in half. You say likely. Likely. Now, you saw me show you with Chris Cuomo that they're only 1/8. Only 1/8 of the labor in agriculture. And when you get to CNN, well, it would likely, possibly, maybe slash farm labor in half. Okay, we went from 1/8 to half. This is some crazy math. Which could result in massive food waste. Anybody who's worked at a restaurant or a grocery store in America has seen massive food waste. CNN is telling you there could be massive food waste. And has anybody been to a grocery store or in New York City in the alleys of grocery stores later, restaurants lately? You want to talk about massive food waste? Hello? This is what I mean. They threaten you with stuff that's already happening. Yeah, but it'll get worse. This happened on your watch. You're the one who made this problem. Well, yeah, I did, but it'll get even worse if you don't do what I tell you. What the hell kind of weird-ass, moist-ass, limp-ass gangsters they supposed to be? Mass deportations of illegal aliens would likely slash farm labor in half, which could result in massive food waste and create risk for the nation's food security, said Ron Estrada. I'm sure he has no bias here. Chief Executive Officer at advocacy organization Farm Worker Justice. They're the front lines of our U.S. food system, Estrada said. And many of them have been working the fields for years, he said, adding that an estimated 85% of foreign-born farm workers came to the U.S. more than 10 years ago. We have been really working our best to come up with some type of pathway to citizenship, he said. This isn't an overnight thing. This isn't something that just happened. Well, no, he's absolutely right. From Ronald Reagan to Bill Clinton, they've been organizing this against us the entire time. They've been doing this for decades, all the way back to the 60s and the Immigration Act back then. Right after civil rights, here they come with a new Immigration Act. So, yeah, they've targeted us for decades. This did not just start happening. And when they couldn't get the legal system to work, they said, damn the legal system, we're white and we say so, let them cross the border. The current immigration system does not allow for green cards, an ID that shows a person has permanent residency in the U.S., for farm workers. Although temporary farm visas known as H-2A do exist, there is no legal way to have year-round foreign workers. Deportations could exacerbate ongoing labor shortages in the food and agriculture sector, and that could. Do y'all see how many times you've seen the word could in this article? Please, this is why you have to have someone here objective to show you. Do you see how many times they keep using the word could? The headline makes you think it's an absolute certainty, and then when you start reading it, it's like, okay, y'all are just playing make-believe. You're just playing make-believe the whole time. These people aren't good propagandists if you actually read objectively and think critically. They're not even good propagandists. Deportations could exacerbate ongoing labor shortages in the food and agriculture sector, and that could ultimately lead to higher prices at the grocery store, economists told CNN. While proponents of mass deportations have argued that expelling millions of people could help the affordability crisis by curbing demand. By the way, has anybody been to a grocery store in these places where the illegals have been allowed to set up shop? You want to know one of the major reasons we can't get ground beef anymore? I mean, you see them coming out of the grocery store now. I mean, they might as well be coming out with a damn forklift. I mean, they grab all the ground beef, all the ground chicken, all the ground turkey. You sit up here and you want to go to the gym and stuff. It used to be easy to do that. Now you have to start tanking up on the protein shakes because they sit up here and grab all the damn ground beef, all the on the fajitas aisle. And now the vegetables, they leave them alone. Nobody's messing with the vegetables, but the stuff you really want, here they go and go grab all that. All the eggs and the ground beef. Used to be easy to do that. Now I'm talking about they come out with, y'all have seen them. If you're in Texas, if you're in Florida, if you're in the Carolinas, if you're in California, if you're up in Pennsylvania, you've seen that. If you're in Louisiana, I mean, they come out with 2 damn buggies full. I'm talking about they got to lean forward to push the damn shopping cart. What? While they're telling you ain't no problem. And there's little appetite among native-born workers to fill those roles, said Farm Workers Justice Estrada. Of course, the guy who's human trafficking the illegals. You notice CNN is not referring to these folks as human traffickers. Isn't this very interesting? They're breaking the law by coming over here. They sure got Diddy in court. Why is it that they're not referring to these people as human traffickers? Well, they're working. Okay, the folk Diddy had were working too. Well, I guess one man's worker is another man's human trafficked. Now, isn't this all very interesting? CNN does not describe any of this as human trafficking. This is the very definition of human trafficking, and yet CNN and the corporatists over there are not referring to this human trafficking as human trafficking. Oh, well, farm workers. I mean, that's, well, you know, man, you got to break a few eggs to make a few eggs, you know, man. Hey, CNN, isn't this, why are you not changing this to human trafficking? And the guy here with these so-called advocacy groups who are going to be making money off of it. That's human trafficking. And yet your corporate media and Roland Martin and the rest of the dead black media are not referring to this as human trafficking. And yet it is. It says here that Estrada, who noted a case study of a 2011 effort from the North Carolina Growers Association to hire 6,500 farm workers. Nearly 270 native-born North Carolinians applied, 245 were hired, and only 7 lasted the harvest season. Quote, few, if any, American workers are willing to take on these farm worker jobs, Estrada said. This plays out in just about every state. This is the same old lie that they always tell. Why don't we go talk to the workers and see what, first of all, if you believe the white men who own these farms, if you believe them, I've told you all about the things I've witnessed here. We know full well they're not paying them the wages that they're supposed to. They have them working wages they shouldn't, hours they shouldn't, the whole damn 9 yards. They're not even offering these to anybody. They haven't tried to do anything. By the way, he's talking about from 2011. Well, there was a study from some suspected white supremacists in 2011 in North Carolina. Really? From 2011. By the way, who was president then? From 2011. CNN should be ashamed to even report or print this. They should be ashamed to even do this. And yet, there they are, folks. I'm not making this up. This is their article here. Now look at this next part. Looking past the rhetoric for hope. Oh man, hope and joy. Barack Obama, hope and change. Kamala Harris, joy, joy, joy. They are just congenitally talking to people like little children. While businesses and others are sounding the alarm about the potential for stark labor shortages and economic risk, one has to go back only a couple of years to see how labor shortages hindered the economic recovery. Quote, "We lived it," said Sanchez, the Chicago restaurateur. "There was no labor force. Everybody was collecting $1,000 a week for a year and a half. People were traveling around the world and people refused to come to work." They're talking about during the pandemic. Who in the hell was getting $1,000 a week, y'all? Who was getting $1,000 a week during COVID not to work? What are they talking about? And what the hell does that have to do with illegal aliens? What the hell does the pandemic have to do with that? Somebody at CNN was doing meth and just got down their typewriter and just started banging out stuff. Well, during the pandemic, I guess they're just handing out psychedelic drugs at CNN and just saying, "Here, write an article." One of their unpaid Reddit followers is writing articles. They're just insanity now. During the pandemic, excuse me, this has nothing to do with that. Yeah, but during the pandemic, okay. The pandemic leveled in-person industries, and the restaurant sector was among the hardest hit, losing millions of jobs overnight. Okay, but everybody was not working. And by the way, in New York City and California, they closing restaurants. So that was everybody. That had nothing to do with illegals. Somebody go and get to CNN and teach them how to follow a train of thought here. They're just having random consciousness. While unemployment benefits were extended to affected workers, the demand for workers outstripped the supply for a variety of reasons, including health and safety concerns. Well, yeah, they closed the restaurants, caregiving needs, and people switching careers. Still, it took years for the restaurant industry to return to its pre-pandemic job totals. When the economy was reopening, Sanchez said that restaurants could only operate for 2 days, 3 days a week because there was no labor force. And the labor force that was there and willing was mostly people who could not collect unemployment, he said. "We know illegal aliens are working. They're not sitting at home," he said. "They've been working for 30, 40 years here and paying taxes." Anybody who's been to an ER sees that they don't pay enough taxes to justify their presence. Anyone who's been to an ER in America, you see them in there and whatnot, they don't pay enough in taxes to justify that. But don't expect Sanchez or CNN to bring it up because CNN, of course, benefits off of this. And some of these illegals, he said, are looking past the rhetoric on the campaign trail and are optimistic that the new administration could create a pathway to citizenship when that was not accomplished during the Biden administration. Quote, "That's why you saw so many of the Hispanic and Latinos overwhelmingly voted for President-elect Trump because I think they believe he can pass a law," Sanchez said. Damn! See how quickly that flipped over and turned? Brother Neely Fuller said white supremacy takes both sides of the argument. Did you all see how quickly CNN flipped and turned in their own damn article? I want to give you another side of this. Now, that was on the side that most people think about. I want to give you another side of this. This is the other side of this. From the AP. Schools are bracing for upheaval over fear of mass deportations. If you all want to know one of the major factors, one of the major reasons why there's resistance to getting rid of illegals, I need you all to know that your Department of Education and the teachers' unions and the school education departments, they are the biggest proponents of recruiting as many illegal aliens into your community as they can possibly get. Because the more children there are, the more they can tell the Department of Education, oh, we need more funding. They don't care where the kids came from. They don't care if they're legal or not. If the kids can come to that school, if the kids, quote, live in that district, for those of you who didn't know how this works, if they live in that district, even if it's in a flop house, even if it's in an abandoned bando house, they are now living in your district, and your school district says, oh, well, these kids we need to get funding from the Department of Education for little Manuela and the rest of the illegal children here. So it doesn't matter where they came from. We need more money so we can build more, so we can, for more classrooms, more teachers, hell, even more schools if we can. So if you all want to know, for the black kids, they're closing down schools. For the illegals, they want to build new ones. So please understand, your so-called teachers unions, they are the biggest pimps and human traffickers and proprietors and defenders of promoting this. So just in case you thought it was just private business doing it, just in case you thought it was limited to private business, oh, no. The public sector employees are in on it too. I need you all to know this. This isn't just in one or two places. This is across America, wherever you live, even in your so-called deep red states, even in places you think are just all redneck and Confederate flags. By the way, I just needed you to know this, that your school districts are the biggest pimp proponents of pushing for illegals. Because they get paid. They get paid for it. If you live in the United States, your school district is pushing for that. They don't care where the kid came from. They're going to claim them and say, all right, cut the check. And everybody who works at the school or has worked at a school or knows somebody who works at the United States public school knows that. Now, I don't think it works that way at the charter schools necessarily. Certainly not at the private schools. But for the public schools, I just thought you all should know that. This is not just a New York or California disease. That's the point I'm making. It says here, the last time Donald Trump was president, rumors of immigration raids terrorized the Oregon community where Gustavo Balderas was the school superintendent. Yeah, sounds like they're looking out for black folk there. Word spread that immigration agents were going to try to enter schools. There was no truth to it, but school staff members had to find students who were avoiding school and coax them back to class. Well, so much for them wanting to attend class, by the way. People were just ducking and hiding, Balderas said. Educators around the country are bracing for upheaval whether or not the president-elect follows through on his pledge to deport millions of immigrants, illegals, who are in the country illegally. Even if he only talks about it, children of illegals will suffer, educators and legal observers said. If you constantly threaten people with the possibility of mass deportation, it really inhibits people's ability to function in society and for their kids to get an education, said Hiroshi Matamura, a professor at UCLA School of Law. People, can you go to Japan as an illegal alien and they give you a free ride in Japan? Somebody tell me if that's the case. Can you go to Japan and you just show up? Hey, my name's Nick Johnson, and me and my kids are going to live here, and we want free schooling and free education and free health care and free housing, and if you don't, you're inhibiting our ability to function in society. Hey, we came to Japan illegally, but you're trying to kick us out. That's going to inhibit my ability to function in your society that I came into illegally. The fear has started for many. Oh, yeah. The kids are still coming to school, but they're scared, said Almendina Abeta, superintendent of Chelsea Public Schools, a Boston suburb. Pay attention to this next paragraph, people. A Boston suburb that's long been a first stop for Central American illegals coming to Massachusetts. Now, Haitians are making the city home and sending their kids to school there. Now, isn't this very interesting? Boston, which has historically been absolutely brutally hostile towards foundational black people. Isn't that interesting? Now, they have always been notoriously, consistently hostile to us. And yet, why is it that they're filtering for these other people? That they're filtering for the immigrants, now filtering for illegals. They're not giving them the same hostility and violence and targeting. Now, isn't that interesting? Why is it that Boston is making a distinction between illegals and descendants of slaves? Why is it that Boston is making a distinction? Why is it that California makes a distinction? Why is it that Oregon makes a distinction? Why is it all these places that have been historically hostile towards the descendants of slaves are filtering for the illegals? Now, for them, they're not treating the same. There must be a reason and a rationale for it. There must be. They're asking, are we going to be deported? Hopefully. Many parents in her district grew up in countries where the federal government ran schools and may think it's the same here. The day after the election, Abeta sent a letter home assuring parents their children are welcome and safe no matter who is president. Immigration officials have avoided arresting parents or students at schools. Since 2011, ICE has operated under a policy that illegals, immigration agents should not arrest or conduct other enforcement actions near sensitive locations, including schools, hospitals, places of worship. If immigration agents were to arrest a parent dropping off children at school, it could set off mass panic, said Angelica Salas, executive director of the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights in Los Angeles. If something happens at one school, it spreads like wildfire and kids stop coming to school, she said. Balderas, now the superintendent in Beaverton, a different Portland suburb, told the school committee there this month it was time to prepare for a more determined Trump administration. In case schools are targeted, Beaverton will train staff not to allow immigration agents inside. So you've got immigrants who've come over here and they are, practicing the same lawlessness like where they came from. So, of course, you want that being part of your citizenry. Of course, you want them roaming the society. Just thought that should be, just take a look at how entitled they are, lawbreakers, and take a look at how entitled they are. You thought Cortez and the other colonists, you take a look at them, these illegal aliens have a colonist mentality too. It's like an invasive species. No regard whatsoever. Do you want someone like that sitting around you? If you do, you're suicidal. There are some folks out there who are taking it hard, and then there are others who are taking it even harder. Yes, I've saved the best for last. We're done with the appetizers. Now time for the main course. Oh, folks. Don't believe Jason Black. Don't believe me. The program would not be complete if we did not go check in on Roland the Bowling Ball Martin. He's been paid off lovely by the Biden administration. Kamala Harris and the Democrats. He's been paid off wonderfully by them. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And of course, he's here to defend his lineage. He's here, boy. He's ready to stand up with his little rotund, little short ass to defend his lineage. And just in case you thought that everything was great and everything was okay and everything was all right and, well, Jason, there's nothing to worry about. Well, even if you think there's nothing to worry about, Roland just posted this video. He just posted this. And I want you all to hear what he has to say. You can see the title on it. Scared to death! Exclamation point. Haitian migrants flee Ohio over deportation fears. This is not Jason Black talking. This is not me being speculative. This is Roland Martin. Oh yeah, and by the way, once again, he wants to start throwing threats. that if you don't let him and the illegals have their way, then he starts threatening what will happen if you don't let him and the illegals continue to eat up all the resources and break the law and everything. If you don't, there'll be bad things happening. Bad things are already happening. It'll get worse if you don't do what I say. Do you all see a pattern forming here? Like a bunch of little domestic terrorists. We're doing bad things already, but things will get worse if you don't do what we tell you to. You know, there's a reason why we need to separate from that kind of mentality. But in any case, fair use bowling ball, fair use. This is from Rolling the Bowling Balls channel. Embrace yourselves, people. He says they're scared to death out there.
Some of the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, who were targets of massive lies and hate during this election season, are reportedly fleeing the city they've called home for years. Fritz Neil Octave is the Haiti editor of the Haitian Times. He joins me now from Kissimmee, Florida. Glad to have you here on the show, Fritz.
Isn't this interesting? All these Haitians who claim to be so concerned about Haiti and not a one of them doing a damn thing in Haiti for Haiti. They're coming over here and standing on the backs of the only people who actually took a stand and never ran. And then they're sitting up here trying to suck the life out of us and leeching off of us. Dude, you ain't did a damn thing for Haiti except, hey, everybody just go to America. Hey, just stand over there. So there's the first problem is a coward who runs. I can't really, there's no way in the world I'm turning my back on you or trusting you. You haven't done anything for where you came from except stand next to us and say, ooh, I'm so glad you built this shade over here, me standing there. So him and Roland are both doing that. So it just shows you they find each other over here and get together. This dude is down there in Kissimmee, Florida. He needs to be in Port-au-Prince where he could actually make a difference. He's not interested in that. He's in Florida feeling the sunshine and the breeze.
Editor of the Haitian Times. He joins me now from Kissimmee, Florida. Glad to have you here on the show, Fritz. Now, what are you hearing? So is this actually happening? We saw these news reports that they are leaving because they feel it's unsafe. What's your understanding?
Well, and thank you for having me. Normally, based on what had transpired in the election season, all these false claims and Haitians and living in.
You notice they keep saying false claims, not saying what the false claims are. Got him on video going around grabbing geese from the pond. Got him on video. Nobody knows why the local animal shelter needed to close down. And then you see him on video and it's like, wait a minute, is that Benji on top of the damn barbecue? What? So no, there were lies, but they keep saying that. And Roland Martin is the biggest degenerate congenital liar you'll ever meet here. He's been caught passing questions to Hillary Clinton. He's been caught lying about not getting paid off. And then Kamala Harris literally dropped the receipts. And now here they come back again. I mean, this damn lying thing that the illegal alien class does, it's like, good grief, maturity just doesn't stick to y'all. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Yeah, they weren't even stripping the damn fur off of them. They just threw the whole damn dog up on the barbecue. And it's just, really? You thought the Chinese restaurants were bad.
Ohio on the edge. So regardless of the status, the vast majority of them, they are legally living in the city. But
that is a lie. That is a lie. This is the biggest lie that's being bandied around, people. They are not in the city legally. That is a lie. What they're referring to is that they were there illegally, and then Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, through executive order, not through Congress, they all of a sudden say, well, all of y'all who we let into the country illegally since we took office, well, we're just giving you all blanket mass status for, well, we'll just say that you're here, you're being persecuted. That's what they said. Temporary protective status. Oh, well, you're asylum seeker. We're just going to declare you all asylum seekers. No, we're not going to get you in front of a judge to determine whether or not that's a true statement. We're just going to declare that you're all seeking asylum. They're not here legally. No, they're not. And that's why the status is temporary. The status expires like in 2026, I believe. They're not here legally, but once again, illegal alien rules, they just lie through their teeth, and the media is going to lie with them, because I need you all to understand, Jeffrey Epstein and the boys, man, don't you understand? Sexual exploitation is their thing. They want as many illegals over here so they can get a hold of your women, get a hold of your children. I said it. Get a hold of some of the men. They don't give a damn where you came from. They want to sit up here and explore all of their sick fetishes and fantasies. And if you're not a citizen, that makes life a lot easier. They don't care where you came from so long as they have someone to sexually exploit. And then you got other folks who will gleefully go along with it if there's a green card in the offering.
They don't really know exactly what to make of what's going to happen with the incoming Trump administration policies on immigration. So some of them already looking to relocate to across America in different cities where they can find jobs, because they left Haiti just most of it because of the situation on the ground in Haiti, the insecurity caused by gang violence and all that.
Okay, so they're not going back to Haiti to fix where they're from because they're Haitians. It says right here, Haitians. So the Haitians are not going back to Haiti to fix Haitian issues. The Haitians are bringing their issues here and saying, oh, well, to hell with Haiti. They got up and ran from Haiti because they don't value it. It's not worth fighting for them. They're not even trying. They're over here causing more problems. And then they're like, okay, we're just going to run to a different city. Hey, why don't you run your ass back to Haiti? No, man, damn Haiti. I'm over here now. Really? Well, if this is what Haiti created, folks who don't stand, we can't keep people around us who don't stand. Because to walk the yard here, you got to be built to stand on the business. You can't be built to run from the business. You got to be built to stand on it. And you guys are not ready for that.
And coming here thinking that they will be well received, because most of them come in on the federal programs.
What? Did you all hear this guy? Well, we thought we'd come here, we'd be well received. Who the hell asked you? You broke into the country illegally and said, oh, I thought I'd be well received. I broke into your house and I figured I'd be welcome. Folks, he literally just said that. There's some sort of mental or emotional disorder or handicap that is within them or whatever, that he literally just said, well, I mean, we broke into the country illegally. We figured we'd be welcome. He literally just said that.
Security caused by gang violence and all that. And coming here thinking that they will be well received, because most of them come in on the federal programs. Humanitarian parole, or some of them to other programs. But instead,
he's just making up things. He goes, listen, through one program or other programs. There's no program. If you come to the country illegally, that's not a program. That's not a program when you come to the country illegally. So you have other individuals from immigrant backgrounds, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, looking out for what they see as their people. But this guy, once again, this is probably why you all got your asses run out of Haiti. If you're a liar, then you're out of touch with reality. When it's time to put in business on the ground, if you're the lying coward who didn't put in no work, no wonder you didn't hold things down on your block where you were supposed to. You got ran up off the block. You lied to everybody else and tried to act like you put in business, and then they all realized you were a liar. You lied so damn much, you had to flee the damn country. You were such a liar who wouldn't stand on business. Eventually, you got your ass run out of the whole damn country. Now, somebody who is that pathetic, you don't want them around you.
This is what they've been facing now. So some of them are fears. It's not that they're massively leaving, like some report subject. but some of them effectively living.
So you are hearing that they are leaving, looking to go to other places in the United States as a result of them constantly being under attack by Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and right-wing MAGA Republicans.
Well, it's not all because of the fear. Some of them were there temporarily to work, and then as say the work, maybe they find a better opportunity somewhere else, and then they know what's going on with the city. Well, in light of all these things that happened, a couple of months ago, so they prefer to just find a place somewhere else. But some of them are leaving exactly because they're not sure what's going to happen to them with the mass deportation narrative.
Gotcha. And so
everything is flee, 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 run, run, run. Cowardice, cowardice, cowardice. No wonder you can't build anything. And then whoever is in power, they just look for who they can whore themselves out to and prostitute themselves out to. They don't build anything because if it's not in your principle or your character to do so, this ends up being your leadership. You end up being a bunch of nomads who just run from one place to another. You don't stand by each other. You don't stand by anything. You just stand by who we gonna eat off of today? Who we gonna eat off of?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say based on the reporting, it's most people still stay put, and they believe in the system kind of because they know they're there legally. Some of the people has been living there for years. They settle well in the city. They have the business running. Personally, some of them have good jobs, so they're solid in those jobs. They don't let fear take over them, but some of them don't really know what to make of, especially those under the TPS program. They don't know when the TPS expired and in 2026 what's going to happen. And then some of them also under the Biden humanitarian parole program. So due to it.
So you heard him drop the name Biden there with the Biden humanitarian program. So once again, as I said, he's a liar. They were not here legally. Biden ignored the law and said, well, my administration is just going to give you all a pass and we'll just declare you as refugees and you can stay. That's a lie. They were not refugees. They didn't handle business where they come from and they're looking for another place to leech off of. And the biggest issue that you'll have is that until you don't just need mass deportation, you also need mass arrests. You go and arrest all the white men who are breaking the laws by employing them and everything else. That's when you'll see it stop. But the biggest issue that's going to happen, the biggest obstacle you're going to run into is the mass arrest of the white men who are running these schemes. Now, when you go round them up, then all of a sudden you're going to see that stop. But that's going to be a very difficult thing for you to see happen because even Donald Trump will be very, very adverse to doing that. But if you really want to stop this, you got to go round up the white men running these schemes. You got to go put RICO charges on them. Now, when that starts happening, then you will see it stop overnight. The landlords, the agriculture mafia, when you go grab them, then it'll quit. Pritzker up there in Illinois, when you go grab them, then it'll stop.
Expired after 2 years, they've been admitted in the country. So these are people who are mostly scared of the situation.
All right, then. Well, Fritz Snell, we surely appreciate you joining us. Thank you so very much for giving us an update on that.
Yeah, thank you, Wallen, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
I appreciate it. I want to go to my panel here, Omakonga. I'm going to start with you. I mean, we're going to hear more of this.
Omakonga, that sounds like a perfectly traditional name if I ever heard one.
Obviously, there are people who are scared to death when you have these Project 2025 people coming in saying they want to do mass deportations. They want to deport some 11 million people. And you've got some black folks who are cheering that as well. But
who's that clapping like that? Is there some black folks cheering it? Where's that applause coming from? I don't know what he's talking about. Where's that applause coming from?
But here's the thing that also I need a lot of these folks who are black to understand. When you look at the black population in the United States, 10% of that are black immigrants.
And so here comes rolling with the threats. Y'all need us. Well, you see, 10% is illegals. We didn't. Okay. And what's your point? You're saying that as if that means something. Okay, you said that, and that means what exactly? What does that mean?
10% of that. So when we start talking about these cities and different places, do understand that that's going to have an impact when census gets taken, when it comes to resources. But again, if folks want to sit here and want to be in massive opposition, go right ahead. But
well, you see, you need us to, that matters when they do the census and when we talk about resources. Somebody tell me, where are the illegals and the immigrant population sharing their resources with us? Because you see, the whole reason they're coming over here is so they can eat off of our resources that we created. So they eating good and getting fat. But the whole issue is, by the way, they're not extending any resources to us. This has been a one-way street of exploitation. So the whole issue is, okay, they're getting all the benefits from it. What benefit are we getting from that 10% who's eating off of us and leeching off of us? Where he won't name what the benefit is. No one can, which is why we've all asked, where's the benefit that we get from having illegals? We can show you the penalty we paid. We can show you the detriment. We've shown you how they've undermined us. He can't name for you what the benefit is other than, well, they part of the number too. Yeah, and that's why we want to change it. That's exactly why we want to change it. Where's the benefit we get from illegals? All we get is detriment. Let's go ahead and change that. But once again, that's all you have to understand. This is, he fantasizes and hallucinates to himself that if he were in charge of communications for Kamala Harris's campaign, that this kind of garbage he's spewing, that he would have, this is the kind of rationales and explanations he would use that would have gotten all of us behind Kamala Harris. He's literally sitting here acting like that's the case. Can't you all see what a great communicator he is? What a fantastic communications expert he is. Boy, there's a compelling argument if I ever heard one. He's just giving you, 10% as illegals, and that goes in the census numbers, and you haven't told us where we benefit from their current presence, which is what you've been asked. And they never will. All they're going to talk about is what they want and what they're supposed to get.
You're already seeing Amakongo, farmers in California saying, we're letting y'all know there's going to need to be some exceptions, because if this happens, food prices are going to skyrocket. And they said, who's going to come out here and pick these crops?
Scare tactics, empty, idle threats and scare tactics. And of course, Roland Martin, who the only crops he's ever picked in his life was picking the lice out of his hair. These empty scare tactics. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. Not at all. You all always tell the same old lie. You come back with the same old idle threats. We don't believe you. We dare you to show us it's true. We don't believe you. We know you're lying. Go ahead and do whatever it is you think you're going to do. Go right ahead and try it. We're not scared. We just showed you we're not the least bit worried. Who the hell you think you threatening? If you don't let me keep exploiting you, then it'll be really bad if I can't keep exploiting you. If you don't get your big fat ass off my back, we don't believe you. Whatever you gonna do, you know how we say in Louisiana, don't talk about it, be about it. Something gonna happen. I'm sitting right here. Hey, show me, you little big fat pie-built bastard. Show me what's going to occur. I'm sitting right here. Show me what's gonna happen. I don't think you're gonna do a damn thing. You ain't gonna do nothing but run your mouth. Show me what's going to happen. I wanna see what's going to occur. Don't sit here throwing little threats with your cream puff built ass. Show me what's going to occur. Stop threatening us with things and show us what's going to happen. Show us how terrible it's allegedly going to be. Because the only thing I've seen that's going to be problematic is for you. You haven't said a single thing that's going to be a problem for us. So, by the way, hey, don't quit all this damn jaw jacking and get to the doing. You wasting our damn time.
Same thing in Florida.
Absolutely. And Tom Homan, the border czar, doesn't care. And going to your point about black people and immigrants in our communities, we got to be mindful that when some of his agents come through, all four of us can be Haitian as far as they're concerned. And
what? People, you have to understand that I've told you all of these folks who come from backstabbing cultures. They've got this constant con man culture. This bug-eyed jackass just sat up here and said, well, you know, if they come through here, all of us gonna get arrested. Can you imagine that? This is what they're reduced to. This is how, but he literally just told you, well, you know, y'all need to protect us illegals, because if they come through here, they gonna grab all of us. He literally just sat there and said that. You know, they're going to get all of us. You need to protect us illegals who are undermining you, because if they come get us, well, they're going to come get us all. These are the alleged geniuses who told you that they were so epically intelligent that they could be the chief communicators for the Kamala Harris campaign, and that they would skillfully and adeptly convince the rest of the nation with incredibly compelling arguments that they should vote for Kamala Harris. And by the way, this is an illustration of the level of competence in conversation that they provide. He's literally talking to all of us who have our birth certificates and everything else. And he's telling us that we're the same as him. He's literally telling those of us who fought to have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, he who has fought to get nothing except to run even more. They run so damn fast, their heels are kicking themselves in the ass. What? And yet he's trying to project that his situation and their situation is our situation. No, we're not all illegals. We're not all illegals. That's the whole reason they brought you illegals over here, is because those of us who cannot be deported because we stood 10 toes down and built the nation and then held our ground and protected what we built, we can't be deported. Just you. So how the hell you gonna sit here? We all in this together. You guys need to stick with us here. We are all in this together. No, we're not. You in that over there. You are in that over there. You are not one of you, not like us. No, you're not. We're not in the same pot as you, because on the count of the fact we didn't run. So I know you look around at everybody else, ooh, you dark skinned like me. Don't you run too? Don't we all run? No, you all run. We don't. That's why we're not worried. So once again, people, this is what Roland Martin is reduced to. A panel of congenital liars. And they should be embarrassed. I mean, it's not even just insulting now. It's just funny.
The border czar doesn't care. And going to your point about black people and immigrants in our communities, we got to be mindful that when some of his agents come through, all four of us can be Haitian as far as they're concerned. And people think that they're not going to get mistakenly swept up in some of this, because Holman said we're going to go after the criminals first. He said first. So they got other plans. And so just getting swept up in something like that alone can be problematic if you're in detention, lose your job, so on and so forth. So that's number one. Number two.
I mean, folks, this is what Roland Martin is putting out there. And then you wonder why Kamala Harris paid him $350,000 and lost the election. She paid this Roland Martin's little crackhead brain trust over there $350,000. Can you see why they lost the election now? This guy, in case you thought I was exaggerating what he was saying or manipulating it or corrupting it or changing it. No, he's sitting there telling you that, they come get us Haitians and they can grab us all. And literally, they can't do that. Literally. But that's not preventing them from lying to tell you, we all got to stick together. So let's understand the way this works. I want you all to understand the way that this works with Roland Martin and the rest of the illegal alien con class. When it's time to get the benefits, they all want to come up to the damn table and eat. When it's time to put in the work, then they want to look out for themselves. When it's time to put in the work, we're the ones doing all the work. We're the ones putting in all the work, and we're by ourselves. They're over there looking out for themselves. But when it's time to actually get the benefits, all of a sudden, here they come next to us. We all stick together. Right up until it's time to put in the work, then they start looking out for themselves and they go get clicked up with themselves. Then they're off in their Haitian neighborhoods and their Caribbean neighborhoods. Then they're all off over there by themselves. See, when things are getting, when it's time to put in work, they don't come over here with us. It's Karine Jean-Pierre and her white girlfriend. They're over there by themselves. So just recognize how that works. Yeah, it doesn't become we until their asses are in a crack and they need to get some benefits. When it's time for them to, when they want to scalp some benefits, then it becomes we. We all need to watch out. They gonna come for us. All of a sudden, it becomes blanket blackness. Y'all get that? It becomes blanket blackness then. When they need help, it becomes we're all black. But when they have an opportunity to get something of their own, all of a sudden it's we're Haitian. It isn't we're black immigrants, by the way. Why are they even referring to themselves as Haitians? Shouldn't it be black immigrants? But they never refer to themselves as black immigrants. They're never black until they need to feed and blood suck off of our citizenship. Then all of a sudden, they want everything to be flat blackness. But every other time, when it's time to get some money, when it's time to get some benefits, we'll identify ourselves individually. We're not like y'all. Very interesting.
A lot of us who are complaining about, these immigrant centers, community centers to help that ones that got brought to New York and all these other places. Guess what? What stock is soaring now, right now, Roland? Private prison stock, because Trump is going to turn these areas into prisons. And so we're going to be having more prisons coming to our communities.
What? Well, I mean, if you broke the law to be here, you already know full damn well if somebody broke the law and came into Haiti illegally, they ain't gonna get to just walk around and they're gonna build prisons. Well, I mean, if you broke the law, that kind of you paid your money and took your chances, right? I mean, look, you made that choice. You came all the way over here. You knew what it was. You knew what you were doing was illegal. You knew all this, and y'all gotta look out for us. They're gonna put us in prison. Ain't y'all gonna? We black. They gonna put us black folk in prison. We black.
if people aren't paying attention to that. And lastly, as it relates to people basically living in fear, I've heard stories about families who are leaving instructions for their children with their neighbors or other family members who are legal, about their kids' allergies and medical records and all of this other type of stuff, in case there's a day where their kid comes home from school and their parents are gone. Like, this is how deep this is penetrating people across the country. And for those of us who are not going to have compassion for families like that, at the very least, we can have a little bit of sensitivity to what's going to be happening to all of our neighborhoods, because they are going to be ravaged physically and they're going to be ravaged economically by what you just talked about in terms of the farmers and the high prices that are going to be going up. So again,
people, this is why we want to separate ourselves. All this damn con man culture you all come from. Folks, how many of you are living next to Haitians? There's the whole issue. The whole reason why that I started this years and years and years ago. I was the guy who identified for you all who don't live in New York City, because I've traveled the country enough. And what I realized is, hey, by the way, when we talk about those of us from our specific lineage here in America as freedmen, you're talking about Harlem, you're talking about Manhattan, to a lesser degree, you're talking about Brooklyn. But I was the guy who pointed out to you all, by the way, I've been in New York enough times. If you go to Queens and the Bronx, in Queens, it's the Caribbeans, the Haitians, Jamaicans. In the Bronx, Dominicans. And I was the guy who pointed out to people there that, by the way, when we start talking about, when they say they're from New York, while you're pointing out that there are some suspect accents and whatnot, ask them where they came from in New York. And I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you, I live in Queens or the Bronx. And lo and behold, you start seeing that. But here's the thing. They're living in areas that none of the rest of us are in. So he's talking about our neighborhoods.
Nigga, please.
What the hell you trying to pull, dude? Folks, this is how stupid it is. What the hell are you trying to pull? They're not in our neighborhoods. That's exactly the issue. They have their little enclaves in Brooklyn, in Queens, in Long Island, in Chicago, in Florida. They clique up. They do not act as black people. They are Haitians when they get there. They're Dominicans when they get there. They're Jamaicans when they get there. That's precisely the issue that we've had. They're black when convenient. And then the other 364 days out of the year, they Jamaican, they Haitian. And we said, hey, that's got to quit. Well, we're going to stop that. And then they don't. So it's like, you know what? Stay over there. You're over there. So no, buddy, it's not our neighborhoods that will be ravaged. It's probably going to be yours, but it's not our neighborhoods. We cool over here. We're good over here. You don't see any of us concerned. We're good over here. We're perfectly fine. We can show our birth certificate. Can you?
If you're not paying attention to this, we are going to get what we deserve. They're going to be hitting our communities hard as well. We got to wake up.
We're going to get what we deserve. How in the hell is some powerless ass bootlicking illegal alien defender going to sit up here and talk about what? Can try to throw threats? You know what kind of clown ass you look like thinking you're going to throw threats? You're going to threaten us. You're not going to threaten a damn thing.
Jade?
So, I'm sorry, did you say Jade or?
Yeah, go right ahead. You're all right. It's you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I wholeheartedly agree with the previous speaker, because that's the first thing that came to my mind initially, right? There's about 12 to 15,000 Haitians that live in Springfield. There's only roughly 60,000 residents. So if you are sending the majority or a vast majority of the residents away, and that vast majority are probably business owners, private business owners, have family businesses, then what does that do to the local economy, right? How and what effect does that have also on the families? And it's really
Springfield existed long before they ever showed up there. Nobody demanded that they come there except some of the white men who run their damn farms. If they disappeared tomorrow, Springfield would be just fine. And what the hell business is it of yours? Why are you so hard in the paint for it there? And last but not least, if they're so resourceful and so great and so necessary and so essential, why is it that they're not resourceful and great and necessary and essential in Haiti, where they came from? Damn! By the way, to the panel of immigrant idiots, by the way, if they're so incredibly resourceful and essential, and if they're doing such great and wonderful things, why is it that they fail to do those great and wonderful things where they came from? Shouldn't where they came from be this incredible incubator of all that? If what you were saying is true, of course, she's a lawyer. We all know a lawyer would never lie through her teeth. We all know that would never happen. But oh yeah, by the way, if what you were saying were accurate, then why the hell aren't they making Haiti great again? If this is what they have in their character, because what we're saying is, no, there's a whole lot of cowardice and fleeing in the character and a lot of backstabbing culture, and they need to stay in Haiti until they fix the culture that says it's okay to be cowards and backstabbing. If they fix that, then Haiti can turn around. And don't believe me, just check on the other side of the island in the Dominican Republic, if you think I'm lying.
Disheartening to hear that parents are leaving, essentially, it sounds like wheels, right? Or to-do lists for their children in case they are taken away. That sounds like a form of modern day slavery, if you ask me, looking over your back, hoping the man doesn't come get you.
What? So this gutter-sucking scum that calls itself a lawyer has the nerve to sit up here and try to compare illegal aliens who chose to come over here because they refuse to develop a culture and character to handle their business where they're from, and then attempt to compare them to us? Who the hell does this bug-eyed mammy think she is? You got a lot of damn nerve to sit up here and try to pull some garbage like that. To sit up here and unfoil your forked tongue to try to compare them to us? That doesn't sound like slavery. That sounds like your crack cocaine habit is kicking back in again.
And make you go back on the plantation, right? And most of these Haitian migrants that we're talking about are actually here legally through temporary protected status. And
we've already debunked that one, by the way. So she's just going to lie even more. We already debunked that one.
Trump is well aware of that, yet and still he vowed to end that status. So those really concern me. Those matters really concern me.
Julian?
Well, we should all be concerned. This is really frightening at some level. These are people who come here legally. In some cases, they were...
You notice the little plaque over her shoulder. Folks, here's the problem. The problem is when you have individuals, they don't identify as black. Roland Martin, when he sat in front of Richard Spencer, he refused to identify as black when confronted by the preeminent white supremacist of our time at that critical moment. He was asked if he was black, and he refused to say he was black because he doesn't. So I exposed that and uncovered that years and years in advance. These individuals who identify as a nationality or a job or a club that they're a part of, please understand, we're the ones who've carried the banner of blackness in all aspects of life. These are individuals who are black when convenient, but other than that, they see themselves as part of some privileged overseer class. So you see, being black is not enough. I need to be Haitian. I need to be Jamaican. I need to be a soror. I need to be an alpha or Q. So please understand, these people who keep bandying about their titles and bandying about their white Greek organization titles that they identify with, the reason you keep seeing it over and over and over and over again is because they do not identify as one of us. They only consider themselves black when politically convenient. So when you start talking about politics, then they think, okay, here's my black card. But for every other aspect of life, well, I'm a soror. Well, I'm a Greek fraternity. I'm a Mason. I got this job title over here. And what we've all said is, you know what? We're done playing that game. Stay over there with your sorority. You don't speak for the rest of us. And Julianne's Algero-looking ass has been trying this now for decades. There's a reason she can no longer speak on these subjects, but she's been relegated to going over there on Roland Martin's Coon Fest and yucking it up with them. So if she actually had any influence, this would be scary. In this instance now, just knowing how pathetic it is now, it's like, yeah, this is just humorous now.
Recruited because of labor shortages in Springfield. Let me underline that, what I just said, labor shortages. As Roland said in setting this up, who's going to pick the lettuce? Who's going to deal with the crops? On my block here in Washington, D.C., I would...
Who's going to deal with the lettuce? Who's going to deal with the crops? First of all, black folk were already doing that. We've always done that. That's not a scary thing. And if the white farmers can't handle their business, that's all the more reason for the rest of us to step in and get it from them. That's the way that's supposed to work. If the white men who own the farms can't handle their business, we're going to handle that for them. But this strategy of using illegals to economically freeze out the descendants of the slaves in America, and she's sitting here yucking it up and sitting up here cheering it on. I need you all to understand that these sleeper agents, these illegal aliens and these immigrant sleeper agents who do not identify as black, they identify as where they're from, and they think they've gotten themselves in a good influential position so that now the switch can be flipped and the Manchurian candidate can now start advocating for what they really came here for. So she's not talking to us or about us. Think about the poor white farmers who need labor. No. They can come to us and they can negotiate with us. That's what they can do. They can come to us and they can negotiate. That's what they can do. They can do that. There's a solution for you, Julianne. Now you can go sit down and put your Depends back on.
Say, who's going to clean your house? I mean, there are 4 or 5 sisters who are cleaning that, what I just said, labor shortages. As Roland said in setting this up, who's going to pick the lettuce? Who's going to deal with the crops? On my block here in Washington, D.C., I would say, who's going to clean your house? I mean, there are 4 or 5 sisters who are clearly Latina. I don't know anything about their status, but they have their little cars and they come with their supplies.
I am going to try my best now not to blow a head gasket, but did you all hear this decrepit crypt keeper wannabe privileged negress clown sit up here and what she just said? And on my block here in DC, I would say, who is gonna clean your house? So when I said that these rat bastards see themselves as some modern day privileged overseer class, that they see themselves as members of the overseer class, then we gotten the good white folks off the plantation front porch so that Julianne Malveaux and her arthritic ass can sit up here and she can take over. First of all, ma'am, those of us in the real world, we don't have housekeepers to clean our house. We clean up behind our own damn asses.
And deal with it, nigga.
What the hell she talking about? Who's gonna clean your house? The folk who live here. But it does give you an insight into the sick, diseased mind that Roland Martin deals with, and the folks who are defending this. I'm so glad that now they have to come out and say what they really, really are and what they really, really think. She thinks she's honorary white person. She wants to have somebody that she can lord over. She wants to have someone she can exploit. She wants to feel, otherwise she doesn't feel like she's arrived. If I can't exploit them the way white folk do, I haven't arrived. I haven't made it. She wants to have her own little beige privilege. So she says something so outlandishly sick and insane. Who's gonna clean your house? As if all the rest of us got housekeepers. I want y'all to think about that for a few moments. Like all the rest of us we all got housekeepers. Do you hear what the hell she talking like? You thought this was only relegated for Nick Romney's wife or something like that. And here Julianne is, who ain't got much house to clean. And she's sitting up here telling you all, well, who's going to clean your houses? Now, let me stop right here. You got plenty of black folk who got house cleaning businesses. And they went downhill because you brought in the illegals. What? So let's be clear about that, Julianne. It's not that there are not folk who can clean the houses. You want it to be really, really cheap so you can sit around and get whatever drugs or alcohol you drink. But you got those of us, and I've been in the business myself, by the way. Remember, we've done building maintenance, floor maintenance, tiles, whole 9 yards. Everything was good till they started bringing in the illegals. You all know this in Texas, Louisiana, New York, Florida, Georgia, California, Arizona, you name it, anywhere and everywhere. The Dakotas, Michigan, Illinois. Being black in America, having your house cleaning businesses, blinds cleaning, window cleaning, we were perfectly fine. Everything was great. So they brought in the illegals. It wasn't that there weren't enough people to do the job, and it wasn't that there are not enough. They wanted to crush the prices. Next thing you know, they bring in a flood of illegals, and then all of a sudden they're working illegally. They're not legal. They're not paying taxes, and they're charging $2 an hour. Julianne's not mentioning that part. Of course she isn't, because she can't afford a real damn housekeeper. Nigga, please. That heifer is a failed newspaper writer. She can't afford a real housekeeper. On her damn Social Security, she can't afford a real housekeeper. While she's fantasizing that she's some old money bougie heifer, you can't afford a real damn housekeeper on your damn Social Security disability. So yeah, she wants to have some illegals around there because she can't actually afford a real housekeeper. People, listen to me. It has always been this way. You got plenty of black folk out here who we are the most entrepreneurial people in America. It would be perfectly fine. Everything will roll on just great. Julianne would actually have to start cleaning up her own damn dishes for a change, or she would have to sit up here and pay what it's worth. That's what she'd have to do. But she'd have to let go of her little vicarious slave plantation massa fantasy she wants to indulge in. Now that's what would go down the drain. But you got plenty of black folk who will step back into that position once you clear out the riffraff and the illegals. You have plenty of black folk. Let me tell y'all right now, for the housekeeping, for mechanic work, for construction, you name it. You name it. Street sweeping, the whole damn 9 yards. There is no shortage of labor. It's a manipulated market by craven, cowardly, unscrupulous trash individuals like Julianne Malveaux. But you got plenty of black folk who had businesses and have them. We don't need illegals. The work will still get done. As a matter of fact, it'll get done better because now we'll finally be able to get capitalized, keeping the profits where they need to be. Now you're going to be making a lot more money because you don't have illegals out here artificially depressing the rates and everything. Now you can start making some real money at it. And next thing you know, you're going to be hiring more people. Because you'll be able to. And that's what Julianne doesn't want. She doesn't want you to be able to do that. I need y'all to understand, for me as a fellow who's been in the work, and I was in construction, I've been in all these fields. And we were doing good till they brought in the illegals. And take a look at the shoddy work and the shoddy quality of what they've done. You've seen nothing but the quality of the work fall off a damn cliff. And Julianne is sitting up here threatening us that that's what we need. We need more of that so she can sit around and indulge her massa plantation fantasy. No, if anybody needs to get their lazy ass up and do some sweeping around the house, it's you, Julianne.
And go to people's houses to clean them. Will they be subject to something? Many of the waiters in this neighborhood are Latino. Will they be subject to something? Basically, we should all say all together.
Okay, let me go ahead and say one more thing. Did you hear what she said here before about Latinas, these sisters? I think they're Latina.
But they have their little cars and they come with their... Who's going to deal with the crops? On my block here in Washington, D.C., I would say, who's going to clean your house? I mean, there are 4 or 5 sisters who are clearly Latina. I don't know anything about their status, but they have their little cars and they come with their supplies
Okay, let me go ahead and just say this just like it is right here. I'm not even going to be nice about this. Let me just go ahead and say this just like it is right here. Sniper shot straight between your little beady bug eyes. Y'all got to understand there's a whole lot of old niggas and old hoes out here. Yeah, I said it.
And deal with it, nigga.
And I want y'all to understand that they've been out here for a minute. And they've been chasing their interracial sexual access. Ain't that right, Jennifer Lewis? And then you hear them say terms like brothers and sisters, Latina brothers and sisters. Ain't that right, Cornel West? By the way, who's sleeping next to Cornel tonight? Black first, I imagine. No? All right, never mind. Folks, maybe it's just because I'm from Louisiana, and I know I've traveled a lot of places, but can you please tell me where Latinos get together and refer to their black brothers and black sisters? I'm listening. Because I see folk like these people here trying to do that all the time, and I'm just curious, have any of you, where is that happening at? Because it's been years and years and years now, and I've been waiting to see where it is that Latinos get together and amongst each other refer to us as their black brothers and black sisters. Because you always see these old bootlicking, ass-kissing media niggas talk like that. And then, of course, you see compromised niggas who pretend that they're running for president or vice president sitting up here saying things like that. And then you go ahead and check the paperwork and it's like, oh, you got a fetish. But yeah, for those of us who don't have that issue, when I go over there on these people you sitting up here trying to big up, when I go check on their side of the fence, these are phrases that never get utilized by them. These phrases are never used by these other people that you trying to snuggle up to. They don't talk like this. Not toward us. They don't use any of these terms to reference us. So Julianne and the rest of y'all clowns, why are you going out of your way to do that for them and they're not doing that for us? This one-sided thing. What the hell are you really chasing? Now, if this were a two-way street, I would see things differently. But I'm just asking, by the way, when I listen to these folks in their little corners, they don't ever utilize these terms. These terms are never used in common commerce over there. So why are you all so desperate and so obsessive to keep using phrases that other folks don't use towards you and they don't reciprocate? What's driving that? Real simple question there. What's driving it?
Go to people's houses to clean them. Will they be subject to something? Many of the waiters in this neighborhood are Latino. Will they be subject to something? Basically, we should all say all together now, we told y'all the incoming president made a strong case, a flawed case, but a strong one, that he could control the economy. Everything that he has proposed to do is inflationary. Removing either legal or illegal immigrants from this country precipitously is inflationary. Building more prisons is inflationary. Adding tariffs is inflationary. So he says that he wants to be the one who can corral the economy. Frankly, Biden and Harris were doing a good job. We had seen inflation go down to the Fed target of 2%. We have seen a number of other positive things in terms of the unemployment rate. They've been hitting all the marks. Their flaw, as we've talked about many times here, is they ain't tell nobody. They didn't toot their own horn. But I don't know if it would have mattered because I think too many ignorant white people, I'm just going to call them ignorant, too many of them, frankly, voted their race and not their pocketbook. If they had voted their pocketbook, they would have voted for Harris, Waltz. But instead, they voted because they could not stand to pull a lever for a black woman. But in any case, as Roland said.
Do y'all see how long this heifer babbles on? This is what happens when you get old niggas out there and they start talking. She just babbling on and on and on. And by the way, if you think that's a winning slogan, all these ignorant white folk, if you think that's a winning slogan, then keep using it.
that the highest loss economic plan was better. But in 6 months, I dare say if they do even a third of the stupidity that they say they're going to do, we will see inflation rising. If they deport, inflation rising. Tariffs, inflation rising. We can go down the list and inflation rising, but people voted essentially because they voted their whiteness.
Now, if none of these things happen, is Julianne Malveaux going to come back and apologize for lying through her crooked bucked teeth? If it turns out that nothing that she says is true and that it's all a lie and it doesn't happen, is she going to come back and confess, you know what, I was just full of great big piles of lawn bag size crap and I was wrong? I was at best wrong and at worst lying. Is she going to come back and do that? If what she just said doesn't come to pass, is she going to come back and apologize for trying to scare everybody? Is she going to come back and with her journalistic, I should use the phrase, integrity on the line? Remember that heifer over there at the Des Moines Register who sat up and said that Kamala Harris was going to win the election by 10 points, and then she basically got run out the damn business in 1 week. Is Julianne going to come back and put her credentials on the line and be like, you know what, if this doesn't happen, I'm done speaking publicly and that's it because I've destroyed my credibility? Is she going to do that? Well, I told you all bad things were going to occur and it didn't actually happen. So I've just proven that I'm not qualified to speak anymore. So I'm not going to talk about anything except what kind of antifungal cream you should put on your toes from this day forward. What? But I'm not going to talk about politics anymore since clearly I'm unqualified to speak on it. Certainly not going to talk about economics because I've absolutely vomited all over myself. Is she going to come back and say that? Is she? Because if she isn't, then what the hell is she doing up here? If she can be absolutely catastrophically wrong and still is allowed to speak, what the hell are you doing?
This to me is also, I find to be hilarious. Go to my iPad, Henry. Trump's deportation.
Oh, okay. Roland's iPad, y'all. It's like, do I need to take the screen down for a moment because there might be children watching? We all know the inherent hazard of Roland Martin going to his iPad. So it's we try that one on our own peril. We ain't no telling what gonna come up. So hopefully he's bought a second iPad from his little struggle budget. Hopefully he's got a second one. But I'm just warning y'all in advance. He said he's going to the iPad. So everybody is parental discretion is advised. Parental discretion is advised.
They voted their whiteness.
Well, this to me is also, I find to be hilarious. Go to my iPad, Henry. Trump's deportation vow alarms Texas construction industry. I'm like,
Okay, folks, all of these speculative terms, please understand these are big fat face liars. The construction industry is gonna be just fine. I know, I was in the industry. It'll be just fine. I come from a graduating class of young black men who we were all chomping at the bit to get in construction. Here in Louisiana, they started building up the casinos, the casino hotels, brought in nothing but illegals. And I watched over the course of 1 decade where we went from building everything to not building anything. And the state of Louisiana wasn't prosecuting people for it either. They were given contracts so they could do it. Moved to Dallas, Texas, and out of the frying pan into the microwave. There are plenty of us available and eligible to do that. What they did was they filtered us out of the industry, turned it over to illegals. All it's going to do is revert back, and next thing you know, you're going to see an explosion in the profitability and efficiency boom like you've never seen. And oh yeah, one more thing, the quality will actually be on point for a damn change.
Deal with it, nigga.
Oh yeah, and one more thing, all that shoddy ass quality and work that you used to see and stuff, that's going to go away too. The construction industry will be just fine. You know what else will happen is going to be more of us competing on those contracts and bidding on them and whatnot. We'll have more leverage to give at that. So yes, the construction industry, listen to me people, the construction industry will be just fine. I know, I was a part of it. And illegals were a major factor in why young men like me could not stay in it. It'll be just fine. And that's exactly what Roland doesn't want, because he wants to be able to tell his people, don't worry, we got a soft place for you to land here in the States. All you got to do is get here, legally or otherwise. Once you get here, don't worry, we rigged it so we got a soft place for you to land. Don't worry about the rest of these niggas. We got you taken care of. He wants to be able to give those assurances to them, not to us. Furthermore, what the hell is Roland Martin talking about the construction industry for? He doesn't know a damn thing about it. He doesn't know a damn thing about it. He doesn't know about foundations. He doesn't know about pylons. He doesn't know about I-beams. He doesn't know about steel reinforced concrete. He doesn't know a damn thing about construction except which floor the restaurant is on. What? I done worked that out and did that. I'm the guy who taught you all about what a tower crane is and what it does, and when you're driving by a city, what the tower crane represents. So when you see one, you realize when you're seeing mass development. That's how I made my film Gentrified, because I worked in construction, and when I drove through Nashville, Tennessee, and I saw 15 tower cranes, I was like, this is unreal. Where am I at? Am I in Hong Kong? Am I in Shanghai? 15 tower cranes. You can build a city with this many tower cranes. People who don't work in construction may not even realize that. I got a good long view of the horizon. I'm like, there's over a dozen of these here. You can build a whole city. And now that's exactly what occurred. Roland didn't tell you this was happening. Yeah, he never worked construction. I did. So how the hell is he going to tell you about the ramifications of this on construction, and he's never worked it? Let me tell y'all, that little round portly bastard, the only thing he would do at a construction site, he would get tired just looking at niggas work. Oh, he'd get tired just looking at them work. You know. That's a big bag of concrete you bringing up there. What the hell is he going to do? How is he going to educate you about something he has no knowledge of whatsoever and doesn't have the manhood for it? Could you all imagine him trying to pick up a bag of concrete, trying to pick up some lumber? Could you even fantasize in your head what the hell that would look like? Mini me trying to pick up a bag of concrete big as he is. What is he going to do?
Haitian vow alarms Texas construction industry. I'm like, where in the hell have y'all been for the past several years?
Look at the writer of the article, by the way. So yeah, I'm no propaganda here.
Construction industry. I'm like, where in the hell have y'all been for the past several years? You've got nutcases, Governor Greg Abbott. You've got Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Republicans in the state, doing what they're doing. And so, yeah. So y'all are sitting here, but guess what, Texas? Y'all voted for the man. Y'all voted for Abbott. Y'all voted for Dan Patrick. In fact, Republicans control all statewide offices. They've done so the last 25 years. This on y'all. So guess what? If the Texas construction industry, let's say, just crashes, again,
folks, what it said, when Roland starts lying, them eyes start bucking. When Roland starts lying, them eyes start exploding. So you can tell when Roland is lying. He starts getting all emotional and he's trying to get your attention. I'm just saying, a little pathetic thing. He can't do a damn thing. Not at all. Not at all. All he can resort to now are scare tactics, and he's not qualified to scare anybody. This little Hawaiian roll built nigga is trying to tell you about, if you don't do what I say, then bad things gonna happen to y'all. Okay.
I'm gonna play Scarface's No Tears. if
Damn! Nigga, please.
Folks, this is cringe. Roland Martin trying to play Scarface, that would just look weird, man. That's like seeing a little white suburban grandmama playing Snoop Dogg. It's just, what in the hell is this? What the hell is, folks, if Roland Martin plays Scarface's music, then he should sue. I would sue to keep this little rotund bastard from playing anything. I would sue to keep him from doing it. Dude, this is going to do nothing but bring down the value of your catalog, brother. So consider this a threat from Roland. Consider this a threat. Roland needs to stick to playing Katy Perry music. And that's what, in country dance line music. That's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to do. What the hell would he look like trying to play some Scarface? I'm just like, oh, this would just look... Can y'all imagine Scarface bumping out that 1986 Volkswagen Beetle Rolling Drives?
Auntie, chill!
Can y'all imagine that? Oh, can you imagine Ghetto Boys bumping out of that damn 87 Volkswagen Bug that he putters around DC in? If you can hear the music over that lawnmower engine, it's just, I'm gonna be playing Scarface. Okay. Yeah, he might want to play some Lil Nas X or some Frank Ocean or some Justin Timberlake, something he can keep up with. This would just be weird.
Offices. They've done so the last 25 years. This on y'all. So guess what? If the Texas construction industry, let's say, just crashes, again, I'm gonna play Scarface's No Tears. If it crashes in California and Florida, guess what? Knock yourself out. I'm not gonna sit here and say a word. Y'all voted for this.
Nigga, you're not going to be a part of it. If anything did happen, you won't be a part of it. It's not going to be because you said anything. It won't be because you did anything. It's not like you have any power to make anything happen. He's talking like he's some influential power broker and that if you don't bend to his will, then it was all going to be bad there. Dude, like you going to make something happen. It's always some little jelly roll built nigga sitting up here telling you about what he's gonna make occur and if you all don't fall in line and acting like he's some boss and some power broker. This is comedy.
And this is an example of y'all wanted truly FAFO. Y'all wanted to go here, go right ahead. Go right ahead. And so if all of a sudden y'all can't figure out who's going to be cleaning hotel rooms, who's going to be working in sweeping floors in hospitals and in schools and stuff like that. I'm just letting everybody know this how I'm going to look the next 4 years.
Big, saucy, sassy bastard.
And deal with it, nigga.
Dude, if you think this is a tough guy pose you striking right now, folks, what in the hell? The little hush puppy built nigga is sitting up here acting like he is running something here and he is outdoing the females right now. This is what the hell, y'all, he think he cooking right now. Do you understand me? He thinks he's cooking. He really does. He thinks he broiling. He thinks, folks, this is what it means to be a member of these sororities and fraternities. This is why they got their paddles. This is why they got the little secret Mark Lamont Hill and the rest of them, their little secret get-togethers. This is what it means to be a part of that. This is what it means to be a part of that. So I just thought I would show you all that's going on right now. Although I'm very glad that Roland brought that up about music.
Let's say just crashes. So guess what? If the Texas construction industry, let's say just crashes, again, I'm going to play Scarface's No Tears.
Well, folks, I'm going to leave Roland's face just like that because you know what? You know what, Roland? Since you brought up music, now that you all are the ones who fooled around and found out, and the man hasn't even been inaugurated yet, and already the crying and weeping and moaning and panicking has begun. Can y'all imagine what it's going to be like in 6 months? So Roland would like to talk about music. Well, Roland, I would like to play a song. It's not a rap music song by admission here, but since Roland has brought up the prospect of music, I'd like to play something here, and I'm just going to let y'all know in advance. Yeah, I got to take that hit. I'm going to have to take that copyright strike hit. I'm going to have to take it, but in this instance, it is worth it. It'll be worth it in this instance. I'd like to dedicate this little tune to Roland and all the little fleeing folk out there who told us what y'all gonna do and what you ain't gonna do and what do you guys think you're gonna do to us, and we run this thing here now. I'd like to dedicate this next tune to all of y'all out there and whatnot. It's a golden oldie from Phil Collins and Genesis. You can play this around the Christmas tree this year. Sing it with me now. Oh, come on, Roland. Sing it one more time. Oh, I want to see you stand up in the back. Okay, hit the acapella now. Break it down. Manuela, Jose, Port-au-Prince, down in Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Juarez. Come on now. We want to see you on the floor too. All around the world. That's right. Where are your papers? Where are your papers? Papers, please. Papers, please. Do not come to us talking about blackness. No, no, no. You're Haitian now. You're Jamaican now. So don't come to us with blackness. Not at all. Not at all. We cool. We chilling. We great. By Roland's own admission, they're panicking over there. It's just getting started. What y'all gonna do, dude? I just showed you what we gonna do. I just showed you what we're gonna do. It's gonna be just like that. Do we look worried? Nope. Are we running to anybody's rescue? Hell no. So you go ahead and bring on all these weirdos and fossils and pretend to yourself that you're sounding the alarm and that you're doing something slick. Just keep pretending that to yourself. The last election results showed you just how much influence you don't have. And dude, it's only going to go downhill from here. However, you all might disagree. There is a possibility that you do disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open up the Zoom for you here. So you'll have an opportunity to go ahead and give me a call up. And by all means, I would like you to tell me, what is it we're going to lose? Okay, if Trump starts deporting mass deporting illegals, okay, how are them being here a benefit to us? Because Roland can't tell us how it benefits us other than to just keep repeating, well, they here. Okay, you're not telling me how that 10% is helping us. I can tell you how it's undermining us. You can't tell me what they're doing to offset the damage that they're doing. So, by the way, should be rather easy to substantiate, shouldn't it? It should be. Should be, but apparently it isn't. So, we're going to go ahead and throw that up for you. Let me go ahead and toss that link into the Zoom for you all here tonight. And if you'd like to tell me, how do we benefit from illegals? I'd like to hear. What are we getting? What do we get for all of that? Roland is making threats. He's not even making veiled threats anymore. He's telling us that if you don't let the illegals run things, then it's going to be mass calamity. He's making all kinds of little fat boy threats. And I'm just like, you know what? Get to the damn doing. Stop with the damn threats and get to the damn doing. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, here, I'd like to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who's contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support here. Mr. Waits, stay positive. Everybody else here, thank you very much for your support. Pamela, we're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll be talking to you and more. This is the Black Channel.
Is your child struggling in school? Wish there was a way to get them the extra help they need? Mr. B, the teacher, is available for online tutoring on both tutor.com and varsitytutors.com platforms. He can help your child in a variety of subjects and is passionate about making learning fun and effective. And for even more learning tips, check out his book, Guidelines for the Successful Student, now available on amazon.com. For more information or to reach him directly, go to mrbtheteacher.com today.
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra snake and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give reparations? Can the evil alliance be stopped? You can find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And I want to say something right now that's a little bit innovative, something I guarantee you all have never heard anywhere else before, but it really just reinforces and concretes over exactly why it is we have to make the stand that we're making here and why we have to stand by this, because it is the correct thing to do, other than it just being common sense. We need all the illegals to go back where they came from. We need you all to develop a spine. For those who are standing on business where you came from, you need to stop being the cowards and you need to go back there and develop some pride where you came from, some pride as a person, some character, some principles to stand on. You need to do that. But there's another reason that you need to do that. You need to do that because you lazy bastards are not pulling your weight. What? You never have. And you're continuing not to pull your weight now. See, here's the thing that we need. You need to get your lanky asses back where you came from, put your flip-flops back on, dust off your shoes and your pants, get over there and go develop something so that we have a place that we could potentially flee to.
And deal with it, nigga.
See, there's the issue right there, is that the only ones building something worth coming to is us. And the folks who claim that they're so productive and so useful ain't built a damn thing for the rest of us to enjoy. We don't have any place we can go to over there in Haiti. We don't have any place we can go to over there in Africa. We don't have any place we can go ahead and chill and set up with in Jamaica. We don't have any of that. We're over here building this up, and we've made a place for you to be able to set up. You ain't did a damn thing for us to set up on. So get your asses back over there, and if you're so essential to construction and all this other stuff, get something built up so that we have a place where we can set up satellite office at. We need to have an alternative venue for us to be setting up in. Y'all are not carrying your damn weight. All you're doing is sucking up resources and bleaching off of us. Get your ass back over there. Get to work. Get something built up. Stop sitting up here building up where we at. We got this taken care of. We didn't ask for you and we don't need your help. Get over there and you get something boosted up where you at. So that we can have the ability to step outside the United States and something nice and modern and up to date is built up so that we can kick up our feet on your soil. Oh, wait a minute. Y'all is the biggest hating bastards on the damn planet. When we come where you are and kick up our feet, first thing you tell us, get your feet off the table, nigga. Now, isn't that interesting? When we show up where you're at, first thing you do is tell us get our feet up off the damn table. We don't need to be kicking up and laid back. Now, isn't that interesting? That's the first thing you do when we show up. You don't believe in us coming where you are and having a piece of nothing and building up anything. Now, that's not what you do when we show up. So it's like, yeah, you know what? From here on in, why don't you prove to us that you can actually do something? And we don't need you to do it here. Get back over there where you at so that you can pull your damn weight and develop a fallback position for the rest of us. Because you haven't even made a beachhead for yourself. Get over there and pull your damn weight for a change. In Roland's case, he might need a whole lot of help pulling weight. But you start pulling your own damn weights and start developing something so we can enjoy something where you at. It'd be nice for us to have something developed there and whatnot in the Caribbean. That'd be great. That would be wonderful. Why don't you make it where there's a place that we want to run to? You're not even attempting to do so. Now that's the definition of pathetic. You're not even attempting to develop something that we could run to. If we ever did want to put on our track shoes, you're not even doing that. This is what the hell you end up with. Now, there's a concept I know that most of you have never heard of before, and most of you never considered. By the way, the other reason they need to go back there is that we've built up something over here worth having. They need to be pulling their damn weight so that we got something we can go to. You have all these resorts and all these ports of call and all these places and whatnot. Yeah, but nothing for us to come to. Why is it they ain't got this set up so that we can go over there and whatnot? We'll have hotels and everything, fast food restaurants set up. They ain't got nothing for us to run to. They haven't done a damn thing to make sure that the ground is set so that we got something to run to. All this being compassionate. Hey, bug-eyed nigga, you ain't talking about getting no compassion over there for us when we show up. Why are you not worried about the business interests for us? Shouldn't they be concerned about having us over there developing our business interests? Julianne Buckface Malvo, you're not saying anything for that. So why don't you see to it that we have what we need? Hey, how about our construction industry back over there rolling the bowling ball? How about that one? It's because that's the one we need. So why don't we have that one instead? Get back over there and build up something so that we have a fallback position so we can have some other place for us to go to. That's what you need to be doing, and you don't need to do anything else. Till you get that done, you're useless. All you're doing is leeching off of us who've already done the real work. We don't need you leeching off of us. Get something productive built up so we can all eat. All you doing is sitting over here sniffing on our damn table, sniffing on our plate. You haven't built a table, plate, or a damn fork. And then telling us about how much more we need to give you. Gans Campbell, I'm not sure what you mean by that. We'll get Gans to give us a little bit of clarification. I might have them call us up here in a moment. We'll get Gans to give us some clarification, but I want somebody to go ahead and give me a call and tell me, what are we missing? How is it, how are illegals helping black folk? How is that a benefit to us? How do we benefit from allowing a free fire zone for illegals? How do we do that? How does that happen? What are we gaining from it? What do we get? Let me go ahead and get over here on Zoom. I got Onan up here on Zoom. What's on your mind?
What's going on, brother Jason?
All right, speaking of illegals here, he's got him down in the basement.
So, yeah, I don't think that we're just being replaced, or at least the Democratic Party, in my estimation, is just looking to replace black folks with a more malleable political and economic base. And they're just trying to get us out of the way because a lot of us have broken bad. We're just not falling in line with the Democratic Party anymore. If you look at the media landscape, especially over the past 25, 30 years, it's really transitioned from terrestrial and print over to social media, and social media is more ubiquitous, and you're able to disseminate more information more quickly. And I say that to say the information that we as black folks have been getting concerning the Democratic Party has been much more unbiased. It's just been more to the point, which has influenced our decisions, especially people under 50, like myself and a lot of people in Millennial and Gen Z.
Well, here's the thing, brother. I mean, this is the first time that we have had a conversation that was not controlled, and I mean directly controlled, by outsiders. Even in the so-called black print industry, even with Johnson Publications, we got to admit, we now know, I mean, a lot of that was controlled by the dominant society, either directly dictated, this is what you're going to print, or influenced by what they thought white sponsors and advertisers would accept. So when you realize that that's the environment, you realize that, man, we haven't really had a national conversation. It doesn't have to be one network. If we're having this conversation in 50 different places, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Everybody doesn't have to aggregate here, although people have been congregating here. That's great too. But what I'm saying is this is the first time we have a conversation that wasn't controlled by other people, wasn't controlled by their interests, not controlled by puppets. So this is brand new to them. The other thing was it's all been intended to deceive us into believing that these are not even things we're talking about. There's the whole thing. It's all been intended to deceive us into thinking that y'all aren't even worried about this. You're not even concerned about this. And then you'll have a Roland Martin roll out there and tell white folks this is what we all really believe. So he really hates it because he's been telling his white paymasters that this is what we all really believe. And then it just blew up in his face. So this goes bad for all the bootlicking niggas who are getting individual benefits for themselves, all the newspaper niggas, all these hired Negroes who are getting paid all this money to spread all these lies. Now this blown up in their faces. Yeah, they kind of raging. They kind of raging now.
There's one more point that I wanted to make, and I'll land there. Noam Chomsky has famously said that the greatest form of propaganda is when something poses as opposition, when it's actually support. And if you look at the old black media, as you mentioned, and the landscape of the Democratic Party is really just controlled opposition, where they relied on the ignorance of the hoi polloi in order to get what they wanted, politically speaking. But thank God for you and Tariq Nasheed and Professor Black Truth, the voices of the new black media, lifesavers as always. I'll land it there. $1 brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. You know, here's the other thing right here. What we've had is what you need to have when you've recognized a societal failure. When you recognize that there's been a systemic failure across the board, that's your time to say there are no sacred cows. Everything has to be reevaluated. One of the first things we reevaluated is so-called pan-africanism. Now, as you all remember, once again, I was the first man through the door a decade ago, questioning whether or not we needed to keep perpetuating this idea of pan-Africanism as it had been practiced. That because of the fact it was clearly a one-way street that wasn't being practiced outside of America, that we need to reconsider that. It's really taken off within the last 5 or 6 years. Now it's spread to everybody else. When I said it, it was sacrilege. Today, it's found more fertile soil because more and more people have started to question just like we got people to start asking, wait a minute, when we say black, does everybody mean the same thing? Now, when you say Pan-African, does everybody mean the same thing? And what's happened is people have started to ask themselves, wait a minute, does everyone actually mean what we mean? And what you found out is, no, they don't. That they're using these phrases as a Trojan horse. That's what folks are finding out. They're using these phrases as a Trojan horse. Entities and interests outside of ours, they recognize that this matters to us. And so they're doing what they did where they came from, whatever they got to do to get by. And then they latch on this phrase, oh yeah, Pan-African, Pan-African. And then we ask them how they're living. That's the whole reason why we started doing things differently. Because when we started checking the paperwork and checking their postings and checking what they stand up for and checking what they actually actively advocate for, what we realized is, I'll be damned, there's nothing Pan-African about what you're advocating for. When we're watching the Olympics and you're pointing out that the runner is Jamaican, not black, well, that's it. You've just exited Pan-Africanism. When we're talking about black people and you point out that they're Haitians, well, you just left Pan-Africanism. When we sit up here and talk about these things, you talk about they're Dominican, you just left Pan-Africanism. When you sit up here and talk about Latinx and you're being Afro-Latino, well, that you've just left Pan-Africanism. When you sit up here and talk about black and brown colored, you just left Pan-Africanism. When you start promoting and elevating and prioritizing your interracial sexual access, you just left Pan-Africanism. You don't get to be Pan-African when convenient, because we didn't make the accomplishments we did by being black when convenient. We had to be black all the time, including when the KKK showed up, including when they blew up the Black Wall Street that we built. The immigrants did not help us build that, nor have they tried to help us rebuild it. What? One more thing, folks. The illegal aliens and the immigrants, they didn't build what we had before, and they haven't joined with us to rebuild it. Oh, Roland does not like us pointing that out. The rest of their bootlicking, ass-kissing kin up there on the screen, they don't want us to point it out that, by the way, you niggas didn't help us build it, and you haven't helped us. You haven't gotten together to collaborate with us to rebuild it. You go off in your little immigrant enclaves and then you stay over there. We're not helping you niggas to do that. You see, when we talk about our icons, they're like, well, those are yours. That's the whole reason. So you see, that is why we said we're going to put Pan-Africanism on the shelf until we can cleanse it. We are going to put this concept of Pan-Africanism, and we're going to just go ahead and shelve that. We're going to shelve that. You niggas wouldn't do that. Watch me. They figured we wouldn't do that. Yeah, Pan-Africanism is going to be shelved until we can get that little concept cleansed. Until the other folks out there who try to hijack that term, until there's a two-way street, yeah, we're done with that. As long as it's a one-way street, we don't need it. We don't need a one-way Pan-African street. We don't need that. and we're not interested. If you want to go ahead and do it the way you're doing it, you sit over there and you be Haitian, you be Jamaican, you do that. But this idea of eating off of us and exploitation, yeah, there's the problem. There's the issue. That's the part we won't be doing. Whole lot of sacred cows that these folk were expecting us to hold on to. See, they were expecting us to hold on to the idea of pan-Africanism until we drowned. They be sitting up there eating good, and we're just holding on to it, and they're reaping all the benefits, and we just, well, you know, we got to make sure our Haitian brothers and sisters is all right. Our Haitian brothers and sisters are not making sure that we're all right. It's not a two-way street. The Ilhan Omars are not looking out for the rest of us. The Karine Jean-Pierres are not looking out for the rest of us. Oh, no wonder Joe Biden and the rest of the bigot brigade made it a priority to bring you over. So what we started saying is that, yeah, we're not in. Our cause now is not Pan-Africanism. Our cause now is being on code. If you want to know the global agenda, we have redefined the global agenda. You can no longer come to us and say you're Pan-African. We want to know, we check in paperwork to see if you're on code. See, we're defining what that means. Where you from, what you believe in, what set you repping, what you claiming. What's your sign? What you tagging? We want to check the paperwork and see what code you running. Don't tell me you're Pan-African. We don't take that here no more. What's your code? What's the code? That just is what it is. What's the code? And yes, I'm going to go a little bit further here tonight, but it does need to be stated and it does need to be said in all candor. We have noticed that we have had an extreme amount of difficulty from individuals who are saying that they live in black and they sleep in interracial. That's been a problem. That's been a problem. These folks here, I find it very difficult for you to sell me Pan-Africanism doing that. I said it. Let me tell you, for those of you who you talking black and you sleeping interracial, what I'm saying is you're not qualified to sit up here and be the salesman of Pan-Africanism.
And deal with it, nigga.
I'm talking to you, doctor. I'm talking to you, Mr. Advocate. I'm talking to you. Yes, I am. Yeah, before y'all sit up here and try to tell us that you're going to be the spokesperson for Pan-Africanism, you might want to get that white broad or that Latina out your bed first. Do you think you need to do that first, or do you think that would you like to clean it up? You know, the optics of this are very suspect. The optics of this are not very flattering. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Niggas sit up here and whatnot, and they get their degrees. They want to run for president. They want to do this, that, and the damn well other. And I'm like, okay, they're trying to sell us on this idea. Talking this brothers and sisters stuff around the world. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So just going forward in the future, I want us to be very, very clear about that. Just wanted to take a moment here to clarify that. Some folks there are not happy. I don't blame you. If I was getting my ass whooped, I'd be mad about that too. But let me be clear. For these folks here who want to be our academic representation, our social representation, our political representation, let me just go ahead and say to you right now, hey, you can talk about issues. You ain't really qualified to sit up here and talk about blackness and brothers and sisters and pan-africanism. You ain't really qualified to do that with this white Latina laying next to you. With this German chick laying next to you. You're not really qualified to preach it and wag your finger at the rest of us. At least Barack Hussein Obama had the damn good sense to drop the white girls and marry a black woman before he did that. At least he had the sense to do that. So I don't want anybody else doing that. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Elijah here up on Zoom. All right, Brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, big brother. All right, I'm calling out. I'm sure it's evening over there, so good evening to you over there. Hey, brother, I got a quick question, and I'm land my plane. Well, excuse me, a follow-up question after that. With this whole stuff, do you really believe that Donald Trump is going to do this so-called mass deportation? Because he said this in his first campaign and he didn't act much on it.
Well, like I say, I'm not going to in any way speak for what he's going to do.
Yes, sir.
I am not in any way going to do that. I'm not going to make any assurances for him. He's probably the most erratic individual you've possibly had running for president. So I am in no way going to try to vouch for his consistency, his principles, his conviction, or efficacy. I'm not going to do that whatsoever. We could very easily look up in 4 years and nothing actively get done. The real question is, what principle do we stand for?
Yes, of course.
Because whether the politicians do what they were supposed to do, elected to do, or whatever, the real issue is, okay, at the end of the day, what are our positions? Because we know he's going to deport some people. They always do. How many? Well, we don't know. Barack Obama deported people. We know that he's probably going to tighten down on the border. Certainly that was his track record. So the number of people illegally coming in, you can expect that that's going to drop off. He's already talking to foreign heads of state and telling them, hey, y'all need to back off the bull jive. So you can look for that to occur. How many of the ones who got in who will be actively rounded up? Not sure. We know there will be some. The real question is, what do we stand for? What do we support? Because those are agendas that transcend administrations.
Yes, sir.
So even if you don't get anything in the next 4 years, over time, that's the kind of thing that has this withering effect. That's what they're really worried about. The folks who are pushing for illegal aliens, they're not just worried about the ones who got in. They're worried about a pathway to continue the fire hose spraying for the future. That's what they really want. Don't think about what's already happened. They don't just want 20 million in and they're done. Brother, they ain't done with that. They want 100 million in.
And what?
Please understand that. Their goal is not to get in 5 or 10 million. Their goal is to get in 100 million. Now, when you think about that, you're like, my God, that's an Armageddon. Yeah, that's exactly what they want. So please don't be deceived about what the real goal is. The real goal is to replace a whole population.
Yes, sir. Brother, tonight's broadcast ties in with your broadcast last night. You at the end when you was making your comments, I believe to Miss Agnes and to the brother from Detroit, you mentioned Mr. Michael Moore and his documentary Roger and Me, and I took the time to look up the Mr. Roger Smith. He was the CEO from 1981 to 1990 of GM, and the reason I'm bringing this up, because all those points you was talking about, you was just hitting them head on, because I was wondering, like, especially in America, even when it comes to our public transportation, you don't see American-made vehicles. He was the one who spearheaded that. He closed the people are talking about cars. He closed the bus division and truck division of GM as well. Well, most of the trucks, but the buses, now you see all this new flyer, and then wait a minute, you was talking about Canada. Who's the number one manufacturer for our bus transportation? New Flyer. They're based out of Canada. And then when you was talking about the plants that's out there in Mexico, and there's a hypocritical part, and I'm not talking about you, but there's a somewhat of a hypocritical part. They sent all these jobs to Mexico. You would think the Mexican man and woman, they would be living nice and fat and proud because they got all these plants coming down there regards cheap labor. And I'm trying to figure out, why are you sending these plants down there for them to build, and then there's a mass migration of them still coming up here?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that, look, anybody who's been to Mexico City in the last 5-10 years, there's tower cranes everywhere. So there is a tremendous amount of building and a tremendous amount of development going on there. You know, Mexico has its own illegal alien issue. For example, okay, so the Mexicans come up to the United States, but Mexico has an issue with illegals in Mexico coming up from South and Central America.
Oh.
So for those of you who did not know, yeah, they come to American depressed wages here, but guess what? With all the building going on in Mexico, they got the same problem going on down there too, with folk coming into Mexico and Mexico City and place Juarez and all those places where they have the resorts and things like that. So you've got two issues going on. Number one, they have their own illegal alien issue, true. But number two, you got a whole bunch of white folk going down to Mexico.
Yes, sir.
So remember, there's a lot of folk who come from like California and work in Mexico.
Yes, sir.
But you've also got a number of white retirees. I mean, they talk about how they're gentrifying places down there in Mexico and whatnot. You got whole enclaves, whole parts of cities down there, coastal cities down there in Mexico, that the white folk are retiring and whatnot and going down there and pricing the Mexicans out. This has been going on now for over a decade. I warned of it a decade ago. I talked about it then. And by the way, y'all are bringing your asses up here to Texas, and the white folk are going down there and getting beachfront property in Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Now, I talked about that over a decade ago, and by the way, it is well off and running now. So short-sighted people don't think that way.
Yes, sir.
There's the whole thing is you're thinking in a 5-year plan. The white folk are thinking 25, 50 years. And what they've done is set up enclaves for themselves. And now if they can't get beachfront property, and I mean, they're bragging about it. They don't have to, they're not fighting to get in Florida. They're not fighting to get to California. They're not fighting to get to Hawaii. They're like, hey man, forget Alabama and Carolinas, down there in Mexico. You can get it for a song. So that's what's going on there. They're short-sighted up against people who are thinking decades in advance. And the bottom line is, white people are perfectly fine being the numerical minority so long as they're the economic majority.
Yes, sir.
So the Mexican citizens are down there working at a white company's plant to forward and develop white interests. And
yes, sir.
As far as they're concerned, they have no problem with the majority of the population being their workforce, just so long as you don't run things. I'll let you have the last word.
Yes, sir. Hey, brother, look, thank you so much. Because both of these programs from yesterday and tonight, they're very sobering because and what you just said, that's even more sobering. Their goal is to replace us, and I don't know where the hell we're going to be at in the next 20 or 25 years. I mean, 20 to 50 years from now. I really don't know. And then with all these nonsense from Potbelly Roly Poly, he's helping their cause. But I'm going to free up the space for the other listeners. Be one to you and the family.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Yeah, like I said, that goes both ways. There's a whole lot of strategy going on here. Short-sighted people. If you're short-sighted and you chasing the quick buck and you're listening to people chasing small, temporary, short-sighted things, you're going to find yourself in a very bad position and dispossessed. And Roland don't give a damn because he's never had anything anyway. He'll just be, he doesn't care what plantation he's dancing the jig on, just so long as he's cutting the rug. As long as somebody's giving him free French fries, that's really all he needs. Okay, over here on Zoom, Tion, whoever you are on Zoom here. Tion on Zoom, I need you to go ahead and just turn your camera and microphone on for me here, just so we can make sure we don't have any trolling issues. Nobody's going to see you except for me, but just to make sure we don't have any trolling issues, we want to go ahead and get that taken care of. I'll give you 5 seconds to get that going, or permanent vacation. So, Tion, let's go ahead and get that taken care of here. We can give you 5 seconds for that, or permanent vacation, whichever you choose. That's perfectly fine by us. Can't wait around on you all night here, so give you a couple more seconds. All right, Tion, there you go. All right, Tion, what's on your mind? Okay, Tion is on, but he's trying to figure out this newfangled technology. You can speak, sir. No, check your microphone input. Whatever you're using for is not working. If you're using headphones or Bluetooth or something, you might want to turn it off. I'm not sure what it is, but I can see you and you should be able to be heard, but apparently the input you're using is probably not correct. So you might want to check what you're using for the microphone input there. Folks that have complicated setups and things, and they might think they got that right, but in reality they don't. So you might want to check what you're using for that. If you're using a laptop or something, that could be causing you some issues. Okay, Tion is confounded by this newfangled technology. I'm going to put you back in the waiting room there and give you a moment here to see if you can get that straightened out. I want to go play something for you all here. For all my political heads out there and whatnot, you know, there's been a long-time political commentator, Bill Kristol. Long-time political commentator, Bill Kristol. And he's one of these inside Washington wonky people. You know, he works at foundations and things like that and makes up policy papers and stuff like that. I don't remember if he was part of Project for a New American Century or not. But this is a clip of Bill Kristol. I've been meaning to play this for a while. Now, this is one of these people who shows up on the Sunday morning shows and shows up in these think tank papers and talks to all the politicians and this, that, and the other. And I want you to hear what Bill Kristol thinks about illegal aliens versus actual American citizens, and tell me, whose nation is he representing?
To be totally honest, if things are so bad as you say with the white working class, don't you want to get new Americans in who aren't going to be... I'm serious. You can make a case that this is going on too long and this is too crazy probably, and I hope this thing isn't being videotaped or ever shown anywhere. Whatever tiny pathetic future I have is going to be totally collapsed. You can make a case that America has been great because every I think John Adams said this at the beginning, right? Basically, if you're in a free society, a capitalist society, after 2, 3, 4 generations of hard work, everyone becomes kind of decadent, lazy, spoiled, whatever. And then luckily, you have these waves of people coming in from Italy and Ireland and Russia and now Mexico who really want to work hard and really want to succeed and really want their kids to live better lives than them and aren't sort of clipping coupons or hoping that they can hang on, and meanwhile, we grew up as spoiled kids and so forth. So in that respect, I don't know why this moment is that different from the early 20th century or the mid-19th century.
Somebody else a chance to ask a question at this point.
Don't you want to rebut me briefly, though?
Folks, Bill Kristol is one of these people that politicians talk about, like Zbigniew Brzezinski. This is Bill Kristol, and I want, for those of you who recognize him and know him and you listen to him for decades on the Sunday morning shows and whatnot, who in the hell is he representing there? He just sat there and literally told you that. Now, here's the real issue. I wonder if this applies to you, Bill. Bill, do you think that that's you, by the way? Well, after 3 or 4 decades, they're lazy and decadent. By the way, for the potbelly guy up there, hey, Bill, is that you? Are you referring to yourself, or are you just referring to everyone else on the plantation? Was Bill Kristol talking about all Americans, including himself, or is he just talking about you and how he's seeing to preserving the country by neutralizing you? Very interesting how that goes. So I wanted you all to see that clip there and see, by the way, these are the guys who have access to presidents and senators, and they write for the magazines and the Time magazine and Newsweek and stuff. And by the way, this is what they really think. No wonder the situation's screwed up. We're going to go ahead and see if we can try Tion one more time here. Hopefully Tion has figured out his microphone situation. We'll see if that works for him or not. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll have to give him an opportunity. Maybe he'll try another device or something. All right, Tion, try to speak. Okay, Tion, I see you. And even though your microphone should be on, for whatever reason, it seems like you're probably using the wrong input for it. So not really sure why that might be happening, if using an external microphone or something else. Not really sure. But Tion has been trying for that. You might want to use a different device. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. You might want to you might want to try a different device. That might work out for you a little bit better. Want you all to understand here that a whole bunch of folks are worried right now. In case you were thinking, it's like, well, Jason, it ain't really that bad. Don't believe me. Roland and them are already worried. They're already worried. They're already scared. And they're already leaning on the rest of us. Let me tell y'all something right now. We're going to be just fine. We didn't ask for them. If we needed illegal aliens to help us in black society, we would have asked for it. We didn't ask for it. We don't need it. And don't let some ham hock eating, handkerchief head bastard sit up here and try to tell you they're chasing interracial sexual access and they want you to play along with it so they'll have more access to non-black people, by the way. Have y'all noticed that the biggest proponents in black society of bringing in illegal aliens, they sleeping with a non-black person? What? That's what they want. Please understand that they don't qualify for somebody who can actually do something. The folks who are doing the most stomping for it, the most advocating for it, and telling the rest of us what we need to do, by the way, you take a look at them. They ain't even with one of us. That's all they're doing. You have a bunch of voluptuary, sexual chasing individuals here. That's what they wanted. They want to influence the rest of us to open up a lane for them so that they can enjoy doing more of that stuff. I got a far better idea. If you're so interested in interracial sexual access with Mexicans, that's great. That's fine. That's wonderful. Go do it in Mexico. Go do it in the Dominican Republic. Go do it in Colombia. Become a passport bro. Get on the first thing with wings and go do your thing. But don't sit up here and decimate our neighborhoods and bring them up in Chicago and dispossess us and so that you can have one extra pair of non-black butt cheeks to grip on. Because their money ain't never been riding there down and out. We don't need that. We didn't ask for it. We don't need them. And you're not going to sit up here and gaslight us into thinking, ooh, if we just do that right there, that really work out. Yeah, y'all, they were talking big trap before. They were talking big garbage before. They were talking real reckless before. I want y'all to understand that. Folks were talking real reckless before. The closer you get to January 20th, you're going to hear all that trash talking get quieter and quieter and quieter. You've already noticed this since Election Day. All of a sudden, you don't see all these shill accounts. You don't see all these Democrat shill accounts, the illegal alien accounts. All of a sudden, you're hearing them get quieter and quieter. They're not posting up as much. They're not saying as much. They're not saying anything. And please understand what the reason for that is. It isn't so much because Trump and Homan are moving on them. It's because they're appealing to us for help and they're not hearing anything. I want you to understand what it is that's actually causing that. It is not the presence of Trump that's causing it. It's the realization that they're sitting up here trying to lean on us for backup and we're not saying anything. That's the issue. They've been spending all this time backstabbing us and undermining us, and now they tried the hey nigga thing. They tried that again and no backup. We're not coming together for the Pan-African Fest. We're not coming together for the we all brothers and sisters things. We're not. They're calling us and not getting a response. It's going to voicemail. They're calling us and it's going to voicemail. We're not afraid to tell them openly, yeah, that's not an issue. That how is this helping us? We all stick together. No, you've been sticking with yourself. I don't see how that's helping me. So, yeah, why don't we let them go ahead and roll that back for a little bit? Why don't we go ahead and let them roll that back for a little bit? They were expecting a different result. They needed us to go ahead and keep up the same blind idiotic behavior that was going on before, and this time it's not happening. In the chat room, Seduction Doll, why don't you give me a why don't you go ahead and call me up on Zoom right quick, ma'am? Why don't you go ahead and call me up on Zoom right quick? Let me go ahead and address that, ma'am. You asked the question. You said you have a question. Okay. Let me answer that question real quick. So go ahead and hit me up on Zoom right quick, ma'am. Let's go ahead and parlay about that. Very, very important here. You asked a question. All right, let's go ahead and address that. Let's go ahead and address that. People, you know, I'm from Louisiana, but a lot of these other folks, they're from either larger states or from up north, and they don't have the proximity to the southern border that I've always grown up with. And y'all have to understand, a whole bunch of them are really just chasing interracial sexual access and sexual thrills. And they're just sexually obsessed. They all have fetishes. They can't make it in politics nor in movies. And so their whole thing is about expanding that. That's kind of the craziness we have going on. It doesn't serve the rest of us. It just serves them as individuals. Let me go ahead and see if I can get this up here for just a moment. I do have somebody on Zoom. I think this might be Seduction Doll. I'm not 1,000% certain. Waiting for their audio to come through there. Looks like they got their Ethiopia mobile. All right, let me see if you waiting on your audio to get together there. Waiting on them to get their audio together. She's trying to talk, baby. It still says you're connecting audio. She's trying to speak, but there you go. Okay, unmute yourself. There you go. Unmute yourself. You should be able to talk. You all know my Zoom is working right because Elijah was talking my ear off. So I'm hitting the ask to unmute button. It's going to point her to what she needs to do. And she's like, wait a minute. Do I do this here? She has her ever stylish pink sunglasses on. That's very nice.
I'm sorry, Jason. But what did I do?
There you go.
I'm sorry, Jason.
All right. Are you Seduction Doll, babe?
It usually comes under Brandy. I'm sorry. What did I do? What did I do?
All right, baby. Now you asked a question. I'm here to answer your question. That's why you asked it, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Unless she was just trolling. In any case, okay. So you asked a question. Why don't you go ahead and repeat your question?
Okay. Well, I wrote it down. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to get on camera, but it said, in terms of illegal immigrants, have you heard anything about the other groups such as Asians, Middle Eastern, and Europeans? And what are your thoughts about the caravans that are still coming across after Trump's re-election? That was my question. I was just typing.
Well, here's the thing. Let me start with your second question first about the so-called caravans. Biden kicked that off because, of course, by the way, for those of y'all who didn't know, let me go ahead and point you back up to the screen up here right quick. For those of you who didn't know, Joe Biden has just announced that he's going to pardon his son. What? So Joe Biden, who was targeting his political enemies, is saying it was a miscarriage of justice for his son to actually have to be subject to the law. So probably the most corrupt president that we've had since Andrew Jackson. But for those of you who didn't know, just today, Joe Biden has announced his son needs to be exempt. So we'll see if that lasts after Trump gets in office. Damn! By the way, hey, Joe, we'll see if that lasts after Trump gets in office. So we'll see if it makes it. But in any case here, going to what you said there, first things first. For the migrant, illegal alien caravans coming up through Mexico and stuff, they're going to try to, obviously, they know now that they have a hard, firm expiration date, certainly January 20th. So Trump is not in power until then. So if they're going to make that run for the border, then they have to do it now, because otherwise if they wait, the environment's not going to be nearly so pleasing. So it doesn't surprise me that you're seeing some of that going on. That's Trump, to his credit, is talking to Mexico and them now and saying, hey, y'all need to derail that now. So you've had actually a couple of caravans that have been broken up. You've had a couple of them broken up, but it shouldn't be surprising that, yeah, you're going to have some of them trying to bum rush the door before January. So that's to be expected. As long as Biden is still there and Kamala Harris, I mean, she's drunk and high and everything else. So she don't give a damn what's happening. So that's my answer about that part of it. So we'll see what happens after January. Let's see if they're so bold and still doing it then. Because like I say, Trump's going to be coordinating with Texas. Texas is already saying, oh, we don't have to ship them to California and New York anymore. We'll just be working directly with the administration and hitting them up right down here now. We can deal with them right here at the border now. So, because remember, Biden has been flying airplanes. I mean, you want to talk about a criminal old bastard. He's been putting them on airplanes over here and dropping them off in American cities. So he's basically set up illegal alien airlines. You've never seen this in American history, a U.S. president who's flying them in by the millions. So if nothing else, he needs to be drugged back and indicted for that, if nothing else. But in any case, about the other groups that you named there, I'm just curious, why did you name them? When you said Asians and Middle Eastern, I'm just curious why they were invoked.
Well, me and my brother my real brother be having these discussions late at night, and we noticed a few, like maybe a year and a half back, there was a lot of Asians and Europeans coming through. They had a secret route that they were using going away from the Hispanic people. They had already had the map out. They knew how much money they were getting. They're the ones who kind of got caught up in with what is called the Biden Express. And in those group of people, there's also some Europeans that snuck over with them. And that's what I was kind of wondering, as the Asians that are here illegally, that came in and snuck in too, are going to be on the list, as well as the Hispanics, and they automatically picked up some of the African countries as well, and some Middle Eastern people. And I was curious about that, if they were just gonna let the Asians and Europeans and Middle Easterns just slide under the radar, or if somebody was gonna bring that up, because I felt like, let me just bring it up. They're here too. If they gotta go, not just Hispanics, which obviously are the big bulk. And then, everybody should go if they came in illegally, right?
Well, my question to you would be, why would you think they wouldn't be subject to it?
I just felt like they were that they were not being talked about hardly ever, and so they might get the slipping under the rug. That was just a question. I was curious as a question, because I felt like they need to go too.
Well, I mean, definitely they do. And Donald Trump is no friend to China, clearly. He's never been a buddy of theirs. As far as the Middle East, isn't he the guy who wanted to put in the Muslim ban? So he's never been a friend or a buddy of any of these folk in that regard. So there's no real reason to think that would be, that would be left off the table. There really, really isn't. However, resources are resources. And truth be told, you're going to go after the low-hanging fruit and the most easily accessible first. Of course, they're going to say they're going to prioritize criminals. The criminals they need to prioritize are the white folk who own these farms and own these plants and who are facilitating and subsidizing the breaking of the law. They're the ones who are creating the draw. Governor Pritzker up there in Illinois, those are the criminals you need to go after. But primarily, like I say, those are going to be the easiest ones to go after, that you can get the most resources for. They also are most dangerous. As far as, mass for the rest of them and whatnot, like I say, we'll see how that comes about. The difference with the Asians is, generally speaking, they don't get together in large enclaves. There's the biggest difference. These other folk get together in large groups. They're hanging out in the corner and stuff. With the Asians, their people prioritize receding into the background, being very low key. Like, for example, out there in California, the illegals go out and go get lowriders and 28-inch wheels. The Asians do exactly the opposite. So part of the reason why it's more difficult to get them and the Middle Easterners is because when they get over here, the priority becomes receding into the background. So that's the reason you don't hear about it as much. They come over here and they get ghost. They get invisible. So when you add all that together now, they're talking about the massage parlors and stuff. I mean, you see some of the chicks wilding out, with their little whorehouses. But as a group, that's about the largest group you're going to get. Them hoes who open up their little massage parlors and stuff, that's going to be the largest group. What you won't find is 100 of them out there in the field and 200 of them at the massage parlor. You're going to get like 10 or 12. But what you won't get is 100 or 200.
I have a question. As far as some of the sanctuary city individuals, as far as the mayors and governors that are kind of pushing buttons and whatnot, what is there any way that people could write, like, say, re-amend a bill or anything like that? And what would be the right phrase to put in there now? As far as
what you see us doing in Chicago, here's the thing, ma'am. For the longest time, we've been letting folks up here and snowball us under with this damn black and brown coalition, and the illegals are just like us and we're all immigrants, and we've just finally said, no, stop all that bull crap. No, we're not. Doing that behavior is what emboldened those people. The Eric Adamses and the Brandon Johnsons and the drunk Uncle Lori Lightfoots and whatnot, and that mayor in Denver and Gavin Newsom, they were emboldened because when they said crazy stuff like that, there was no pushback. So and remember, politicians are puppets of corporations and rich people. You're the designated crash dummy. It doesn't matter if you don't have a future, Bill Gates does. Your job is to do his bidding, he throws you a damn check. So Sylvester Turner and the rest of them, what's the place? Mosley in D.C. and all these folk here, they've been saying all kinds of crazy stuff because there's been no pushback. Chicago has been one of the first major bellwethers that you've seen flip in the other direction, that people are openly in the open, standing up in groups and going straight at Brandon Johnson and saying, we're not with this, we're not for that. So that's what you're looking for, is the grassroots to turn this into an issue, which is what has been happening. It doesn't happen overnight. Please remember that. The other thing is, remember, this is generational. This is generational because, as I keep pointing out to people, our fight has been internal because, unfortunately, the old niggas have been the primary agents and operatives fighting against us. The Julianne Malvos and the Jennifer Lewises and the Bowling Ball Martins and the Jesse Jacksons, and I can go down the damn list. They consider themselves to be the enlightened, privileged niggas, and they get to travel all over these places and whatnot, and every once in a while they get to grip some non-black ass, and they're selling out the rest of us so that they can continue their privileged position on the plantation. Up until now, we tolerated it and we let them run that. Furthermore, with the old niggas, they don't give a damn who's making, I've told y'all, they don't give a damn who's making the beds at the hotel or on the Tom Joyner morning cruise, so long as there's a bed for them. So they're selling out the children's future so they can be comfortable today. So we've just now started the pushback against that. It's no longer under the covers. It's no longer forbidden. You can't send somebody out here with a red, black, and green dashiki to try to shame the rest of us and tell us that we need to vote against and support against our own best interests. Please remember, 10 years ago, they could do that. They can't do that. It's just we just gotten to a point where that no longer flies. So it's like turning around an ocean liner. It's like turning around the Titanic. It's not a speedboat. You can't just spin it on a dime. It's turning in that teardrop shape. It's going to take time to get it to point in the other direction, but I think you can clearly see it's going. So take a look at Chicago, take a look at New York, increasingly take a look at Houston and Atlanta. You're starting to see the conversation change. People are less prioritizing their interracial sexual access and more prioritizing their best interest in survival. And ultimately, when the consequences come due, when they realize that, this next election will not go well, you see a difference. Case in point, Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, communist archfiend, just announced that they're going to put a freeze, a moratorium on that, all those illegals. Trump gets elected, and all of a sudden, here's Justin Trudeau. I'll be damned. Now, he's on his last leg out, but all of a sudden, isn't it amazing? He's had a change of heart. Now, isn't that amazing? After all these years, it's like, what happened? Did we end up in an upside down world? No, people started doing things differently. And the guy who's looking like going to come in after Trudeau is looking at going in a whole different direction. So you're seeing the change happen in front of you. Their job is to be as low key about it as they can be. Nobody really wants to beat their chest about it right now because look what happened to Obama. He beat his chest. He stood out there in front, and now he's the first one to go down. So everybody now is trying to hedge their bets. How do we get you to support us going forward and forget about what we've been supporting all this time? Everybody and their mama's scared of an election coming up now because they now know the political winds have changed. So look at Chicago. Look at those places. Progress moves slowly, but it moves.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I didn't want to get in trouble. You saw how quick I got up here.
Well, no, I just wanted to answer your question for you there. You asked the question. I was just curious to find out where the questioning was about Asians and Middle Eastern folk there was, just to make sure we dealt with that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, like I say, if you got a question about that, I'd be glad to answer that. But furthermore, like I say, these other folks, that's a different issue there. They're going to have to handle their business there, see if they can get Ilhan Omar and the rest of them to help them out to the degree they can. But what they won't have is us playing they damn fools and lackeys and being their damn minions. Now, that's the thing that won't happen anymore. We're not going to be anybody's damn flunky, anybody's damn lackey anymore. That's going to be the key critical difference. We're just not going to be a lackey anymore. That's the part that'll be different. We're just not going to be lackeys. All right, let me go ahead and get over here on Zoom. We've got Mom of 5 up here on Zoom. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Was Mom of 5? Of those 5 children? Unmute yourself, ma'am.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now. Yes, ma'am. Were those 5 natural live births?
Yes, sir.
Oh, ma'am, I figure after the 3rd one, you were delivering by the Heimlich maneuver. What? All right, what's on your mind, ma'am?
First of all, thank you so much for what you do. I really promote you a lot in my area, and anybody that has to be around me has to tolerate, the things that I learned from you. So keep up the good work. You're educating us and doing a fabulous job. That's what I want to start out by saying. But the reason I called up is because of your subject matter. I want to tell you what I observed during the time of COVID. I drive trucks. I've called your show before. And,
lie.
Sir?
Lie. Show? All right. Go ahead.
That's right. Ooh, I'm sorry, your podcast before. I'm nervous. Sorry about that.
Okay, if she didn't have that delicious skin tone, I'd be all over her. But go ahead, ma'am. He's a sucker. He's a sucker for brown skin and bright teeth. So who your orthodontist deserves a raise. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I remember observing sometimes 20 and 30 bus loads.
It's bus loads, trucks, whatever else there. I mean, if you're in the trucking industry, you've seen all of it there. So they'll stop at the truck stops, they'll stop at the Flying J or whatever, parked out there at Walmart or whatever. You'll see them out there by depending on where you are, especially off Interstate 95, Interstate 10, depending on which end of the country you're on. So yeah, Interstate, what was that, 5?
I-30. I was on I-30 in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
20 and 30.
For those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't know, Interstate 30. For those of you who don't know, Interstate 30 through Arkansas, for example, when you hit, you get off 40, you're coming through Tennessee and whatnot, you come down off of 40 to 30 when you come through Arkansas, and it's nothing but farmland for that whole thing is just going through nothing but farms for 100-something miles. That's all you see. So for those of you who didn't know about that, there's a big thing. If you've never done Interstate 30 coming through Arkansas, that's all she's seeing when she comes through there. That's why she's bringing it up. This is a magnet, but they try to slip them through as they can. Isn't it amazing? All these old sundown town states, and yet they've made a lane wide open for these illegals.
Yes, they did. And I was suspicious of it back then. I said, something's not right about this. All of a sudden, COVID hits. And I'd never seen anything like this in the middle of the night. Like I said, charter buses, back to back, fine charter buses. And this happened. And I tell you something else too. They were doing it in RV. This country spent a lot of money to replace us. And this is the other thing I wanted to add on to that. Take out time. I want your listeners and yourself, if you will, take out time and look at some of the old movies, the old television programs, and start looking at the credits in these people's names. I look at programs like, think about it, Hello Lucy. Ricky Ricardo was Hispanic. Pepito from, what's the name of the program? I'm very nervous, but yeah, you can look at a lot of the old school programs, and when you look at the credits, you'll see they had those people over here. So that's why I don't believe that the Republicans are really trying hard to get rid of them either. They are just like you've always said. These people are two sides of the same coin.
No, I mean, look, in Arkansas, you can't be a black man rolling on 20s without getting pulled over by the police. Think about that for a few moments. So if you're a black male in Arkansas, you're subject to get pulled over by the police, the state police, the city police, anywhere and everywhere you go. How in the hell you got whole damn buses full of illegals running through there? How in the hell is that even possible? But if you black, you can get pulled over at any time. Don't break the speed limit in Arkansas. I'm telling y'all right now, go down Interstate 30, down to 20, don't break down to 49. Don't break the speed limit coming through Arkansas. Don't try that. You try that at your own peril. I'm coming through Little Rock. You attempt to break the speed limit at your own peril. You come through there between 12 noon and 5 in the afternoon. You break the speed limit at your own peril. And yeah, you got whole damn buses coming through there, buses, trailers, them raggedy old school buses they got. How in the hell are those coming through and you've never seen one of those pulled over? But you'll see a black male in the Charger pulled over every other minute coming through Arkansas.
Yes,
that's not accidental.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Before you let me go. So I also noticed the level to which they help each other in Texas. Do you not know, listening audience, that in Texas, I would say the Mexicans or the Hispanic races of people, they provide transportation to and from work for their brothers and sisters down there. Something we never did do. I don't know why we never had sense enough to do that. But they're not challenged to get back and forth to work, especially, doing blue collar work. They have buses everywhere, don't they, Jason?
Well, like I said, I mean, teamwork makes the dream work, but then again, they have a code, at least in that degree. Now, what you're talking about here, when I was there back in the early 90s, for example, and, Ron Kirk was the mayor there at the time. And I was telling folk even back then, when I started the Black Channel, which would have been over a decade later, I was telling y'all, it's like in Texas, if a Latino becomes, someone of Mexican descent becomes the manager at McDonald's, that's the last time that a non-Mexican is going to get hired. So miss me with the black and brown coalition when you got so many black folk in the city of Dallas, and yet as soon as the Mexicans get hired, that's the last time a black person gets hired. You can see, I mean, the whole corridor from downtown Dallas out. The fast food restaurants were the first place they set up shop and set up their beachhead. That was it. That was their entry to get their people into the economy there. If one of them got hired, their job was to become assistant manager or shift manager. And that would be, once they became manager, that's the way the progression went. Once one of them becomes manager, that's the last time a non-Mexican will get hired at that location. That's the last time. So at that point, you don't have any black people. Too. Now, that one was a little bit different. You're correct in how it went, but that was a little bit different. You have white men who own the companies, and the white men prioritized making sure that the money didn't go to black folk, because here was the thing that they wanted to. They wanted to make sure that as black people, you did not get experience, because in the construction business, and that's whether you're building buildings or whether, for example, you're doing road maintenance or whatever, there's an art to that. Let me go ahead and give you a little bit of background. As a female, you drive on the roads and things, this will be something for you to know about. You'll notice when you're in let's just say a carport, in a garage at your home, you know if you're dealing with older construction because the concrete will sweat. Now, yes, if all you do is put down a concrete slab, whenever it rains or whatever, you're going to see condensation come up through the concrete. So you'll see this phenomena where everything else is dry outside, and yet on your concrete slab in your garage, there's moisture on it. The technique that you're supposed to use is basically a sheet of plastic. You put down one layer of concrete, you put a sheet of plastic in between, and then you put another layer of concrete on top of it, and that's what stops that condensation from coming through. What I'm saying is just that little simple thing right there. You would just go to Home Depot and get a bunch of concrete, and here you go. And then when that phenomenon happens to you, you're like, ooh, how the hell did that happen? And my neighbors don't. So if you're not aware of the technique that's used for it, you don't understand that. When you're building roads, for example, roads have what they call a crown. So in reality, roads, including freeways, are not flat. If they were, water would accumulate on them at an alarming rate. In order for there to be runoff, the roads or your interstates have to be slightly sloped. So if you're on a 2-lane street, there's actually a crown in the middle of the street. So it's actually going up in a slight triangle shape, which allows the water to run off. If you're on the freeway, it's a similar thing. It'll usually be slanted in one direction or another. That's also why you have the little grooves on it, so that it directs the water to go to the drainage of it. Now, you also have to have a certain thickness of concrete. And of course, we have steel reinforced barring, but I'm saying that Jason's going on about this, and yes, he's done this kind of work, which is why I can go into this withering detail. And what I'm saying is, do you realize how much knowledge went into that? Most of you didn't even know that your roads have a crown. Most of you think that your roads are flat. And I'm like, actually, it isn't. It's actually slightly angled. It peaks at the top where the median is. Freeways are a little bit different. They tend to actually just be slanted in one direction or another. But what I'm saying is, did you know that that's the basic technique? Most people don't. So number one, you don't learn this if you don't work for these companies. Now, if I can keep you and your son from ever becoming employees, you'll never find it out, because I have to tell you, you can't do the work I'm going to ask you to do if I don't eventually tell you what needs to be done. And even if you're thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, why are we sloping this? Somebody's going to tell you why we're doing it. You're not going to just do it. Eventually, somebody's going to tell you why you're doing it. Well, guess what? Knowledge is king. If we teach them what the plantation master tell you about them, if you teach them to read, they'll want more. If I tell you how to do this technique, now you have the knowledge to compete against me. So the first layer is making sure you don't have the knowledge. The second layer is making sure you can't get the financing. So now you know how we build the roads, which means you're actually qualified intellectually to compete against me. Oh, but if I can keep you from getting financing, you can't get the equipment that you'll need to make the road. So do you see how those two layers of obstacles work together? Just that one thing right there. So let's say, as the ladies, y'all might not be aware of that. For the men younger fellows who are in the cyber world, you never did that. For those of us who actually worked it, I'm just letting you know, well, Jason, why didn't you all do X, Y, Z? Because this equipment costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to be able to qualify for it. But even if you had the equipment, if you don't have the knowledge of how to build a road, it won't help you. It's not enough to just, have the knowledge. You have to have the equipment. It's not enough to have the equipment. You have to have the knowledge. So that's I went into that detail because I don't get to explain this kind of stuff very often, but I wanted you to understand that's the reason that they don't, with the construction business is a little bit different, because once you learn techniques, it's a very short road to be able to compete to do it. It takes skill. Don't get me wrong. It's a skilled trade, but it's not brain surgery. So all the equipment you need to be a contractor is at Lowe's. You want to know why it is that you have the outrageous amount of stealing tools that you do from Home Depot and Lowe's? Now they got every damn thing locked down. Baby, it's because having a nail gun it allows you to be a contractor. You have not been. Yes. Okay. For those of you who don't know, you're building a house, for example, we have to go in, level the land. So you need to have, hopefully you have a contractor's level. Hopefully you have a contractor's level. A lot of cases now we use lasers, but hopefully you have a contractor's level. So you need that. Those are not cheap. But the second thing is, once we leveled it, we laid the concrete slab and whatnot, make sure you have your pipes coming up through it. So if you don't do it automatically already, you're going to have a drill that drills through the concrete when it's cured. What I'm saying is that you can buy all these tools at Home Depot. These are not specialty tools that you have to get from some crazy place. These are all things you can get at Home Depot. You can put them in a steel toolbox on the back of your pickup truck. Literally. And what I'm telling you is all these folk talking about these illegals coming over here, that's the reason why so much of this stuff is getting stolen. The white folk are bringing them over here. They're stealing from Home Depot. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't own Home Depot. And next thing you know, they're setting up their own business and they're contracting. And once again, oh yeah, by the way, you tried to do something illegal and they're coming at you about permits. Where's your permit? Where's your permit? All these illegals working out here and whatnot, building apartment buildings and everything else. And nobody's checking for damn permits, just you. They're just coming to check yours.
And the Democrats quiet as a church mouse.
Oh yeah, the Democrats are facilitating that, so that's why we're not playing that game anymore. Well, the whole thing is to get us to go along with our own disenfranchisement. So I went through all that to explain to you all that, by the way, folks, you can open your own construction firm literally what you have at Home Depot. For example, a concrete mixer. To lay a foundation, you need a concrete mixer. Folks, you can buy a concrete mixer at Harbor Freight. I'm serious. Now, you might not enough to have a concrete truck. So, I mean, not that volume of it, but you can have a several gallon concrete mixer. They sell these at hardware stores. It's certainly enough to do a driveway or a smaller project. And even if you don't have that, that's okay. There's plenty of companies that will come and bring a concrete truck for you. So they come and do that, and then you send them on their way, and then you can set up the lumber and everything else, so you can do the studs and do the framing of it and things like that. Everything you need to build a house, you can buy at Home Depot, and you can fit it in the steel box on the back of a pickup truck. And if you have a pickup truck, you can bring in the sheetrock and the drywall and the plywood. They come in 8x4 sheets. You can bring all that. If you got a pickup truck, you can do all of that yourself, literally. But you can't do it if you don't have the knowledge. If I can prevent you from doing that, you'll never tell yourself, by the way, how much does a nail gun cost? Because you don't even know what to do with it. That's the whole reason. That's the freezing out of us in construction I'm referring to. So it's a little bit different than what happened with the fast food thing. It's got some parallels, but just that right there, because in fast food, it's pretty much straightforward. For construction, it went differently. Because those are big projects, they're long-term. Generally speaking, you're doing huge swaths of them. And there's a lot more that goes into it because one job tends to lead into another one. That's the difference. In fast food, you got one location. In construction, one job tends to lead into another one. So you do one subdivision and then you go and do another one. And next thing you know, you've had 10 years of illegals with their kids doing it, and your kids are sitting up out here and you talking about, let's get this prison industrial complex going because these young niggas don't want to work. And meanwhile, I'm telling you, I was one of them young niggas from high school. I was one of them. I did that work. And I sat there and watched right here in Shreveport and right there in Dallas as they removed us. I lived it. We were there. There were plenty of us. There were plenty of us. Well, that's why I'm not going to let nobody sit up here and lie and say we didn't want to work. We were right there. They removed us. And they were all white men. I did not have one Latino do that. These were all white companies owned by white men. They were the ones who did it. The Latinos were their foot soldiers. These were white men with white companies, white governments, white city councils, white state senators. They were the ones who instigated it. Yes.
And black people who are in office sat up there and went right along with it.
Those are the puppets. And this is how you end up 20 years later with somebody trying to tell you about what black men don't do, and they don't stand up, and they don't make no money, and they ain't ambitious. You have never been a female who went to a damn construction site, and one day everything was okay, and the next thing's like, who are these 10 Mexicans hopping out the back of that van? You've never done landscaping. You've never done construction. You're seeing them on those trucks and at the truck stops and whatnot. I've seen them when they get to their destination. And when they get there, it's like one day we were the only ones there, and the next day there were 30 or 40 of them there.
We see them because guess what? They be out there repairing the road, out there looking like Oompa Loompa.
Well, I mean, you know, well, here's my thing though. Where black women are concerned, by the way, there's an interesting phenomenon there. Now, you know, I've been all over places and stuff. Florida is one particular instance. I told you all about years and years ago. It was on VHS actually. CBS News had done a special about Florida. This was back in the early 80s, and they were talking about the illegals coming into Florida. Back then, they were a bit more honest. These were black women working at these hotels in Florida. They followed two of them there. They were black women. And they were showing us, they're bringing in these illegals, these folk from Cuba and stuff like that. They were bringing them in there. So these were black women who were working at the hotels and working at the resorts in Florida, and they brought in the illegals to remove them. Now they're going to sit up here and lie to you and tell you that you were never there, that these other folk were there. No, you were there the whole time. And let me explain to you why that's important. That's important because I've been in these places. I've been to North Miami. I've been to the Keys. I've been to Jacksonville. I've been to Disney World. God help you. I've been to these places there. I've seen it. And what I'm telling you is that I've seen multi-million-dollar and multi-billion-dollar developments with young white Latina females. You all don't know what they're learning. They're learning being in these places. Jason, what do you mean? I've watched as they've put in different types of bathrooms, different types of showers, based on different concepts. Some of them open, some of them slide, some of them have the steel rollers on them. So we're dealing with different degrees of cost and different ways they work. Some of them are open. They don't have doors on them at all. Some of them have the big shower heads over them. They have the rainfall effect. Some of them are the kind with the rain bar effect on them. What? For those of you who don't know, and what I'm saying is that a young female is going to, the ones who are, quote, cleaning up the rooms, do you realize how much she's learning if she's paying attention?
Oh, don't you know?
Okay. Now that and remember, anybody who's built a house before, done that. You all watch Property Brothers. I'm sorry, I got to go into detail because I'll never know when the next time is. I'll have all of you in one place to learn this. If you watch television shows like the Property Brothers, for those of you who do not know, those shows on Homes and Gardens, in reality, when those people get a budget to rehab a house, they don't say this during the episode. There have been lawsuits that have been filed, which is how we know this. If those folks hadn't filed lawsuits, we wouldn't know this. When the Property Brothers and all those other rehab shows approach these people and tell them, okay, here's the budget to redo the house, they ask them redoing a house is pretty much standard except for two rooms, the kitchens and the bathrooms. Those are the two expensive parts of a home, whether you're building it or whether you're renovating it, because it has pipe work, it has extra electricity. Those are the expensive ones. Everything else is just a bedroom. So it's just sheetrock and drywall and paint. They're pretty much standard. The rooms that cost money are kitchens and bathrooms. So when they rehab these places, they ask the couples, which one do you want redone? The kitchen or the bathroom, but you can't have both. So they'll do a complete, they do a complete remodel on the kitchen, and then they do a partial one on the bathroom, or they do a complete remodel on the bathroom, and then they come up with some bullcrap excuse to do a partial on the kitchen. But if you watch those shows, you realize they don't actually completely redo both. They'll only redo one. We know this because there have been lawsuits that have been filed, and in the lawsuits, the folks got to reveal what the contracts say. And that the contract said, oh, you can choose the kitchen or the bathroom, but we can't do a complete remodel on both because that would blow the budget. Or if you want to pay extra, you can, but otherwise you only get one. I'm going through all that to say, by the way, do you realize that's the same way a hotel works? And, you know, for folks on the East Coast, they really bougie about that. So you have like stay places and they have kitchenettes. So you have these nice bathrooms, these nice showers, and these kitchenette places. And what I'm saying is, for a young female who's doing that, she's cleaning the place up and whatnot. And if she's working with a young male who's been stealing nail guns from Home Depot, I'm just saying that think about what the two of them together will start thinking. While your sons are being school to prison pipelines and everything else, and you're being told they're just lazy and this, that, and the other. What I'm saying is, do you realize what the proximity is they're getting to that? Oh yeah, and one more thing. The Patels, who own most of the hotels in this country, or the Hiltons, who own these resorts these folk are at, they'll have no problem talking to these young white Latinas. They'll have no problem talking to these young white Latinos. Your kids show up and all of a sudden they stop talking. Well, but if they
work for them in their restaurants too. They bring them clothes.
But if your kids show up, they're not going to talk to them. They're not going to talk to your kids. They're going to clam up. Your kids start asking questions and they're going to clam up. I should know. I've lived that too. So what I'm saying is, you don't realize the megatons of information that they could pick up simply working, quote unquote, housekeeping at one of these places. Now, let me go ahead and drop the last thing on you there. If they work with them and managers and whatnot long enough, because that's one of the things that you need to be able to open a hotel. If you want to go and have a franchise for one of that, they want to know who's got the experience technically speaking, they want to know if you have management experience in hotels, not going to college and taking some hospitality degree. They want to know, have you actually worked in management? It doesn't matter if you got the money to apply for the loan. They want to know, okay, after you have this, who among you is qualified to run this establishment? Well, if she's been doing housekeeping or whatever, she might not be qualified for that, but the person at the front desk is. And if she's there, she's like, and by the way, I worked in housekeeping. We know the plumbing. We know specific hotel maintenance. Mm-hmm. Do you see how keeping you simply from having knowledge, those are the two tiers right there. And you've got whole parts of the economy built on that now, that they've waged this 50-year war against us. The prison industrial complex was not just about physically sequestering you. It was about making sure that you were sidelined so you don't even have the knowledge about these things. How can you fight us if you don't even know where to start thinking about it?
Well, we know how to dance, dude.
And this is every country, this is every state in the nation. Every state, this has happened in every single state of the nation, to make us spectators where we live and to tell your children that they're lazy and they're not trying hard enough and this, that, and the other. And that's bullcrap. That's garbage. If the opportunities were extended, it would be different. They've locked us out of that and then tell us that's what you really wanted. You don't want to do this anyway.
Mm-hmm. And brother, they use entertainment as a weapon of warfare. And our adults fell for it immediately. Entertainment and distraction.
Well, I mean, you notice that's one of the areas where there hasn't been an obstacle, except when it's time to get a contract, of course. But if you want to be entertaining, there's nobody trying to stop you from that. You can get your TikTok, you can get your Facebook, you can get your rap demo. So yeah, in those areas, there's not a big barrier to entry, but these other things out here that create tangible things in the real world, all of a sudden you start noticing subtle and overt barriers to entry. And there's a reason for that. Folks, when you build a skyscraper, that thing's not going to be there for 20 years. That thing's going to be there for 200. What? The Empire State Building is going to be there for another couple of 100 years. People is going into his first century of being here. It's going to be there for another couple of 100 years. We will all be our great grandchildren will be long gone by the time that thing gets torn down. What I'm telling you is that is going to be a permanent monument. That's a permanent monument. They're saying we own this real estate for the next 300-400 years. While your children are being told, don't worry about that. You don't need to do that. The hell you don't. I'll let you have the last word.
Hey, first of all, thank you once again so much for all you do. I'm going to keep listening. I'm going to keep learning. And I wish us the best. We better get serious, though. I do know that. We're going to have to get serious and cut out our foolishness. And I'll keep listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I have to go into a little bit of detail because I don't get to talk to you all about that very often. These are things that I've lived and experienced. Most of you don't have anybody who's even going to talk to you about that. But, oh, yeah, by the way, in case you didn't know that's how it goes, and in case you had questions about, well, why aren't y'all doing this or why aren't y'all doing that, I'm just giving you a little bit of a peep of the game of exactly what goes into that. And by the way, do you notice I didn't even say a word about permits yet? What? I didn't say anything about, by the way, if you do want to be a contractor and build roads and stuff like that, where are your permits? I didn't even get into that. I'm just talking about the raw skill set that you need to be able to physically do it. I'm not talking about the bureaucratic hurdles you have to get over to be authorized to do it. And these other folk are being told, oh, there's no rules for you. No rules for you. So let's be real and honest about what's really been going on. And then you telling me you done snuck yourself all the way over here. Why didn't you use this ingenuity back in Haiti where you came from? That would impress me a lot more. All right, we got Mr. Dougie here on Zoom. I'm looking for Mr. Dougie. There you go. All right, Mr. Dougie, what's on your mind?
Hey, Dixon, I appreciate what you been doing. You've been really dropping the knowledge. I like how you got in on the broadcast about the way the whites are freezing things out. And, I just wanted to say that there's a line from one of my favorite authors, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle with Sherlock Holmes. And he says, when it's obvious, why look beyond the obvious? Look at who are the winners of the system. Forget about all the other stuff, if you can for a second, the little interplay that goes along with it. Look at who the winners are. It ain't us. And you ain't gonna never be no winner when you listen to people who they have as tethers, or whatever y'all call them, the sus, or whatever your young folks call them, that are out there to fool you. They're always there. The people that are winning, they don't care who are the losers. Because in this culture, you have to have losers. And people don't want to understand that, and they don't want to internalize that. The system does not work without losers.
Capitalism requires the poor as much as it requires the rich.
Thank you. And if those who are following along at home, you can equate poor to being losers. It could be in this particular instance. If you don't have them, you ain't got no capitalism. You as they say in Hollywood Shuffle, you don't got no capitalism without the losers. So they'll manufacture losers. They'll look for losers from everywhere that they can. They will trick you. If you go back and look at a political map from 1980, and I'm telling my age right now, you'll see that the whole country was red. Every state was red. You have to understand, there's a thing they say in sports, know your personnel. You got to know who this country is, man. They were still lynching people in 1968 when I was a teenager. They were still lynching people.
Well, here's my thing, brother. Whether the state is, quote, red or blue, the real thing is, okay, red white supremacy is no better than blue white supremacy. And blue white supremacy is no better than red. It's like, once they turn blue, what's the substantive difference in our status and our condition in the situation? That's how they get us in the trick bag. The colors might change, but the outcome remains the same. Now, I want to touch on something here because you brought something to mind. Now, I'm from Louisiana, which technically has been, I guess, hostile toward unions. That's a little game that they play in a lot of the southern states and whatnot. Okay, so when you go up north, New York and Pennsylvania and whatnot, they've always had a big, heavy union influence, of course, for the purposes of keeping black folk out. You have had tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of black men who came from the South, went up north and whatnot, couldn't be contractors, couldn't be plumbers, couldn't get in any of the trades and whatnot. They used either the unions to keep them out, which was the number one thing, oh, you're not unionized, or using permitting to keep them out. Meanwhile, illegals all over the damn place now. All over the damn place now, and haven't been subjected to the same damn thing at all. So let me get this straight. You all are making rules to exempt them, but you spent the last century telling us what we cannot do as a result, but you're not holding them to that either. No, this is unnatural selection.
Well, you got it. But then what I've seen and what I learned here, because I'm here right in the middle of in Harlem, and you're right, this is a right to work place, and they use all that against you. Sometimes you have to use that discrimination to your advantage. You have to go down there. Sometimes you have to roll up on them and say, yo, okay, we're going to be in, and you're going to have to put us in a union. They'll go, oh, we don't want you in a union, then give me a waiver. And they'll give you a waiver just to keep you from being in there. You still go work. You got to use their tricks against them. The best thing that I've seen that's happened that really warms my heart is that people are looking and rejecting that either or thing, because that's what the Republicans and the Democrat, that's either or. And that never works in no type of situation where there are grown people, either or, because somebody's going to get betrayed. And guess what? We don't like as grown-ups. We don't like betrayal, bruh. So you can't have either or, and I'm glad that people are waking up and seeing that, because they played everybody. They played Martin Luther King. They was all scared because how dirty everything was. You see what they was doing to the kids with the dogs. They knew who they was rolling with. That's why they took that little step. The only person who really knew what was going on, who spoke up, was Malcolm. If you go back and look at everything he was saying, he could have been around right now. He was on it like the Green Hornet. He saw it through everything, man. I think the only thing that got him was he's one of those guys, you can't ask him nothing because he's going to tell the truth. And so, sometimes you can't be that way, man. He was one of those dudes, if you ask him something, no matter who it is, he was going to say what he thought. And sometimes you could get in trouble with that, as you saw what happened with him. However, he knew who he was dealing with. He knew who was the winners, and that's what we got to stay focused on. That's why I like what you're doing on the broadcast. You keep the people focused. And by the way, I knew about the crown and the road stuff just between me and you. I knew about all that stuff because you're absolutely 100% correct. You was dropping some serious knowledge. You have to keep people up to snuff and keep them to be smarter because we all got these nice little machines. And what you guys are doing on this YouTube thingy is the best because it's getting unfettered information, and you're not getting your information from these networks where people are employees. And they're employees, by the way, and they're going to say whatever their boss tells them to say. Don't ever believe anything else. And Jason, I want to appreciate you for giving me a chance to talk. And I'm going to jump off and let somebody else and let you do what you do.
Thank you very much for giving us a call now, brother. We appreciate that. Like I say, you know, I've known quite a few black men from the late 70s and 80s, particularly in ironworks in New York City. That was a huge, big thing when they started building up all the skyscrapers. And everybody talks about all the skyscrapers over New York City now. But from the 70s all the way through the 90s there, y'all, if you don't know how to do welding and whatnot, you can't build these mega skyscrapers if you don't have, if you don't do metalworking, you can't do it. So the really big stuff that plays the really big money in New York, the really essential stuff there, you can't even be a part of the discussion. If we can keep you out of that, man, you can't even be a part of the discussion for the really big stuff that needs to be done. So that bridges the metalworking part of it. That's been a huge thing, especially in New York where it gets cold and it's snowing and stuff. To be a welder in cold weather, for the ladies out there and whatnot, y'all don't know a lot about that. But for the fellas, if you've never done that kind of work, to be a welder in cold weather, construction in hot weather and being a welder in cold weather. Folk don't tell you about that kind of thing. In construction, summer is what they call the busy season. But you can't be a construction worker if you can't work in July. Folks, you can't be a if you do not have the ability to work in July, you can't be a construction worker, man. You can't work on big projects. Hell, you can't work on little projects if you can't work in July. It's 103 degrees. Dude, you can't be in this business. You can't do it. Okay, but if you're building skyscrapers in New York and New Jersey and Philadelphia, you can't do that if you can't work in December and January. They talk about all these cold snaps coming through and snowstorms coming through. Look, you might get 1 or 2 days off and then got to get back at it. You don't get to shut down for 2 or 3 months. You can't do that. For those of you who did not know, you can't do that. I'm sitting there filming Race War, looking at them building this skyscraper across the street from what used to be the Trump Soho. Now it's the Dominic. Don't go there. But don't stay there anymore. They're raggy. But like I say, I'm sitting there watching them with snow on the rooftops of the other buildings. And I'm like, yeah, this is how it's done. This is how it's done. You can't be in this line of work if you don't do that. And you had brothers who were skilled at pipe trades and could do the welding work and things like that. And then they said, okay, we're going to stop that. We didn't get here by accident, people. Please understand that. We did not get here by accident. All the black folk are driving the buses and doing the subways and whatnot. You can't pass on your subway job. You can't mentor your son on your subway job. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing evil about it. There's nothing bad about it. What I am saying, though, is that all of us being corralled off into those areas and things that we don't own, don't control, and can't pass down. You can pass down your welding. You can pass down your pipe trades. You can pass down your carpentry. You can pass down that contractor's license. You can pass that down. They put you in areas where they can control it, and when they pull back on the budget, they can just cut the jobs. But when you have a skill set and the tool set and everything, and you know what you're doing, now that one they can't get rid of. And take a look at where we've been corralled off to. So I'm just giving you a lesson on how we ended up there. It was not natural selection. And by the way, the illegals they brought over, once they got solid, how many of them helped us after they got solid? Once they got their feet under them, by the way, how many of them helped us? Let me go ahead and see if we can get Candy here on Zoom. Candy, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
All right, Candy, what's on your mind?
I just want to mention that what you stated about construction in these hotels and different permits that's required is very true.
Where are you calling me out of?
Excuse me?
Where are you calling me out of?
I'm in Atlanta.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure
The
I knew where you're
suburb of
talking about.
Atlanta. Mhm.
Okay. Go ahead. I just wanted to make sure I had
Yeah.
a frame of reference where you're calling from because it depends on if I have anything to input for it. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm in Atlanta, and I actually had purchased some land in Alabama about 2 years ago. And I mean, it is locked down regarding construction and the red tape to get through, to get things taken care of, because you got one person that's going to look at one object at one time. And, just basically getting property or getting things built there is a slow drag. And then, like here in Atlanta, I mean, cranes in the sky all over. Where you turn, you see a crane somewhere. So there's a lot of money that's coming through. But currently here, I'm at a hotel here. I see not one permit, not one.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, like I said, it's just like black folk with the bar. There wasn't a bar until black people wanted to be attorneys. All of a sudden, you got to pass the bar. They only talk about permits when you show up. They only check a permit when you come through. But these folk working for these white men doing this stuff there, all of a sudden, we're not looking for a permit. Not until they come through. And then if you ask something, all of a sudden, folk act like they start playing dumb, like they don't know what you're talking about.
And then with regards to the workers here, right? Because they don't know that I know construction. And they are renovating here, right? So a lot of things are not, graded accordingly. Now, here in Georgia, the stipulation regarding construction is basically based on permits. It's not so much as having a contractor's license like in certain other states. So with me being in Ohio and getting my information and my knowledge there, it's a lot different with regards to the building codes here because the ground is different, right? So I have been watching things that go and transition here. And if you're talking to anybody here, you basically are talking to their phone because they don't even know English. You understand?
Not true. Now, let's make sure we always keep clear about that one. Folks, everybody who comes over here speaks English. Okay. Everyone. The game they've always played is when you roll up on them, it's no speaky English. But when you go down to Mexico and Tijuana, everybody speaks English down there. So just to brief remind you all, that's a game that they play on, folks. They want to see, they're just checking. That's supposed to be a barrier to keep you out, to see how much, if they can either freeze you out or check and see how much you know. But I'll tell you from experience, people, that's everybody who knows. They all speak English. Baby, they wouldn't have crossed that damn border over here and gambled because they wouldn't have done that. That'd be too much of a gamble. They came over here because they do speak enough to get started. So no, don't let them fool you. All ALL 100%. Every single one of them speaks English. They just don't want to speak it around you because otherwise they don't have plausible deniability and they can't pretend to be dumb. Because they get by on acting like, ooh, I'm just here. I don't mean no trouble now. And what you don't know won't hurt them. Now, brief aside about what you said there before, though, about permits and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it is in some places a little bit of a patchwork because, for example, in Texas, you don't have that. So, for contractors in Texas and whatnot, they don't actually have licensing in Texas. Huge place, buildings going up all over this place. I'm surprised stuff isn't falling down, but it's not. But like I say, in certain places, yeah, you might not have that going on. But the bottom line is you're not going to work there if they don't want you to. I don't care what license they have, whatever. If they want to shut you down, what you're doing, they can do it. Yeah. And if they haven't, if they're overlooking it, it's because they can. That's the game I want us to recognize. That's where we're at.
They've been overlooking it because I actually did some paperwork regarding checking the permits that they had. I went to check on them because I watched them for a month, right? And then I went to see where they had permits. They had not one. So then they had certain people that was calling in regarding the standards around the hotel. And that's when they started to put things into a little bit more of an orderly fashion because people were calling.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, once they're under the gun and stuff, they're going to try to button up and fly right for a minute. The real thing is what you're saying, though, is that they're not proactive. No, they're not proactive for anybody except us. When it looks like we show up, all of a sudden, okay, let me see your papers, dot your I's, cross your T's. What you doing over here? All of a sudden, they're doing a full background check when you show up. So what does that tell you? Oh, you only set this up for us. This is an obstacle for us. And once again, I reiterate, because you all have seen a lot of this in Atlanta. Y'all got a lot of New Yorkers coming down there from Atlanta now. So you got a lot of New Yorkers who come down there to Atlanta. That's the real big thing. I mean, in Texas, there's a lot of Californians coming over. In Atlanta, the big thing there is New Yorkers. So a lot of New Yorkers, I guess they bypassed the Carolinas and they can't stay in Florida anymore. So you're seeing a lot of black folk from New York ending up in Atlanta. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is, I mean, it's just another reminder to you here of exactly how folk get corralled off. And once again, you don't see any of the illegal alien class helping us in Atlanta. There is no coalition going on there where they doing anything to help us. They getting in on these sites, they get these contracts and stuff. They're not bringing us in for none of that. Let me tell y'all again, tell Roland Martin he can kiss your ass. They're the illegals, that 10% of them, the illegals are not helping any of us. They get their contracts. They get their little under the table deals. They don't bring us in. They don't give us a cut. They don't bring us in for anything. They look out for themselves. And it's just like, oh, well, you getting gentrified out. That's you niggas' problem. We okay. You know what? You're on your own.
And I totally agree with the statement of when they're stating things such as we. I don't want to talk about we until we get ourselves together.
It's only we when folk need something. Yeah. It's not we when we need something. When we need something, it's you. But when they need something, all of a sudden it's we. So it's like dealing with your most lazy ass, useless ass, money grubbing ass nephew or something. It's just like this nigga don't do nothing. He's always got his hand out. And when you need something, you always go into voicemail. So yeah, we're pretty much done with that. I'll let you have the last word.
No, I just thank you you just kind of stirred me up when you were speaking on the construction aspect and permits and licensing.
Well, I mean, the thing here is I don't have a bunch of young folk to talk to about that. I don't mean to talk about it, lady, but we don't have a bunch of young people to talk about that. Do you realize they've frozen out the whole generation?
Yes.
They are frozen out a whole generation. I'm not talking to 20-somethings here. I'm talking to 40-somethings and 50-somethings because they've frozen out our 20-somethings.
I actually went to a school here where they have young melanated, men that are actually being trained in electrician. So that's where I get my work from. I get my workers from there.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, they're telling us, Roland Martin to be happy to tell us what we don't need to do. He needs to shut his big ass up. No, you need to have our kids over there. You need to have our young folk doing that and whatnot. They've been frozen out. This is why they got a cell phone in their damn hands. The Republicans on one hand took it out of the schools. We don't have any of the skilled trades in the schools anymore. Everything that Eisenhower did and put in the schools after World War II, they've removed it. We don't have the trades. We don't have carpentry. We used to have carpentry, machine working, mechanics. We used to have all of that. Now you don't have that at all. And they're telling us, don't worry, the illegals will take care of it for us. And then next thing you know, we're gentrified and frozen out. It's like, yeah, no wonder. No, we can't turn our fate over to anybody else. And the political structure is actively working against us. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Like I said, y'all, I mean, this is an opportunity for me to go ahead and just wrap all that up into just one little package there, but it doesn't just stop at that one level. We got a bunch of young people who have no frame of reference for any of this. They're living in places where there's billions of dollars in construction. And let me tell you right now, I would go back into construction tomorrow if the environment was good for that. What? I'm serious. I'd go back into it tomorrow. If the environment was welcoming enough and was suitable enough for it there, I'd go back into that tomorrow. I would have no damn problem whatsoever building skyscrapers along 285 in Atlanta. I would have no problem doing that tomorrow morning. That would be probably the best investment I could do for black folk, having something like that right there. Let me go ahead and get back over here on Zoom. I got Huey here on Zoom. What's on your mind, brother?
What's good, Brother Black? Man, I love the broadcast that you do for the people. And personally, to be honest with you, I have no feelings for these illegal immigrants getting out of the United States, to be honest with you. Get every last one of them out, and that way they can open up all those construction jobs so black folks can get it. Everything. Because these guys come over here, they disrespect us. I even seen in Chicago where they freaking illegal immigrants telling black folks you ain't getting no more money, and they be doing all types of illegal stuff and not get called out for. So if Trump goes ahead and get rid of them, so be it by me, man. It ain't gonna hurt us, because the only thing we're here for is to get what we want.
All anybody got to do is tell me, show me where the illegals are helping us do a damn thing.
Exactly.
We can see where we done open up a lane for them and they're helping themselves. Nobody can tell us where they're helping us. They get their little piece of it, and then next thing you know, they cut us off. We don't hear from them again. So yeah, you can get the hell on with that garbage. When they start kicking something up to us, when they start kicking something down, then we can talk about it then. All they've been doing is helping themselves. Yeah, there's no benefit to us.
Yeah. I also want also if there's any positions open for ICE, black folks, go ahead and get it. Should help the economy. That's all I have to say. If you get a chance and you apply for ICE, go ahead. Get yourselves your money.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Like I say, I mean, it's I don't get an opportunity to talk about these things very much, and we don't have these conversations anymore at all. Folks are sitting around talking about their internet aspirations. They want to get on TikTok. They want to do Instagram. I'm just telling y'all right now, I'm just keeping it 100% real. That would be great. I have no problem with that. You talk about the Pritzker family and Hyatt. You talk about Paris Hilton and the Hilton family. I'd have absolutely no damn problem whatsoever having a black version of that. I would have absolutely no problem if I could be in multi-billion-dollar real estate development. That'd be great, man. I would have no problem building cruise ship resort ports a call. I'd have no problem with that, man. You want to talk about having a legacy when you can sit there and say, yeah, we built that skyscraper over there. We built that stadium over there. We built that seaport over there. Man, what you talking about? That's a man with a legacy there, dude. We built that rail station over there. Like they're building those subway stations in New York City and whatnot. What you talking about with those the big drilling machines that they use? This idea that everybody else is going to do something of substance and we just need to be their customers and their lackeys. Get the hell on with that. Y'all don't understand how serious I am about that. To be able to build and design these things. That you haven't just put your imprint on the city, you've remade it. That's what I'm talking about. That is all the way legit. I would have no problem doing that tomorrow morning. If the opportunities were set up properly, that would be great, man. But understand something, these are things that we don't even discuss. Because we've been maneuvered in a position where we don't discuss it. That's the issue. We've been maneuvered and led over to think we don't discuss this. So you have young black folk out here and whatnot, and they got a cell phone in their hands. But that's because those of us before them, it's not them say, okay, put that damn cell phone down. We're going to get some work done. Let me tell you, a young man takes pride in what he does. You put him out there, you put him with some lumber, you put him with some nails. He sits up here and takes a blank piece of land, and then next thing you know, he builds. Every single one of you have seen this. Every single one of you have seen those YouTube videos where you got the Asian fellas, and in reality, there's a bunch of earth-moving equipment, construction equipment, so those videos are not real. But construction videos and videos where dudes are building stuff, man, that's some of the biggest stuff online. That is some of the biggest stuff online, man. Young men are mechanical creatures by nature. They're constructive by nature. The first thing you do is pick up a hammer. What they've done is separated them from that because they don't want you to be builders. They want you to be consumers because builders will eventually move on to the rest of the environment around them. But you have absolutely no problem seeing those things together. None. They just want you to believe you're not interested in it and didn't even ask you about it. Well, don't worry, we'll take care of that. No, damn that. We'll take care of it. Case in point, for example, there, like I say, it's just some of those things out there. You got, Hydro NYC. That's one of my favorite YouTube channels there as well. Young men love that kind of stuff. If y'all haven't seen Hydro NYC, we got plenty of young people who would be perfectly fine doing that. All over New York City, knowing that you've mastered that. These are the kind of things they can build on themselves for and that they can pride themselves on. They naturally gravitate to it, but what they've done is make sure that the barrier to entry is so high that there's not even anybody around them that they can even have a discussion about with it. You've been engineered into this position and maneuvered into this position. It's not natural selection. It is not. And that's why I've taken out the time tonight to explain that, by the way, these are discussions we don't even get to have. Everybody sits up here and pretends these kids don't want to do anything. The hell they don't. Yes, they do. But they've never been allowed the freedom to explore it. With someone to explain to them, by the way, this is what can be done. When they start seeing that kind of thing and they start recognizing some of the new directions they can go into it, people, when you talk about electrical work and lighting, all these other people want to control it so they can decide how they do it and how creative they can be with it and whatnot. Your kids get into it and things, they can start developing new techniques and new technologies and new methods of doing things. There's all kinds of avenues they could go into it for. But they want to make sure that discussion doesn't even get started. So we start talking about how we can drive for Uber. And meanwhile, everybody else remakes our city around us. And then the illegals come over here and say, well, don't worry, we're going to help the folk who've been oppressing you. And I'm just telling you all a very simple question here tonight. By the way, when have the illegals cut us in for anything they getting? They got their little piece of it there. By the way, at what point have they kicked something down to us? At what point have they let it, when they get their little access to something, when have they opened up a door and said, hey, let me give you this access over here? When have they ever done that? Ask Roland. By the way, hey, Roland, when do they open up some doors for us? He gonna tell you, shut your stupid ass up. They don't need to open no doors for you. That's what Roland's gonna tell you. Roland's gonna sit there with his big bulbous jelly pizza face built ass and tell you that illegals don't have to do anything for you. You need to be doing something for them. They don't have to do nothing for you. So don't be somebody's sucker. It's a new day. Even if the bowling ball didn't recognize it, it's a new day. I want to take a moment here to thank everyone who's contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, my man Keith Keenan, Mr. Cochran, thank you very much, Melvinia. Thought you had disappeared there, Jerome King. Also, a big shout out here to Demi there in the Super Chat. Big shout out to Demi.
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time. I told you today I'm still the greatest of all time.
My girl Demi there in the Super Chat there. I appreciate her tiptoeing through here. I thought she didn't like me for a minute, so I guess she's trying to let me know she doesn't hate me anymore. So we appreciate that. Very glad to see you there as well, sister. I wanted to do this tonight because we don't get to talk about these things on a regular basis. And for those of you who did not know that this is what's going on and this is what it is, don't just stop here. Go ahead and investigate that. If you think I'm making it up, if you think I'm exaggerating, if you think I'm not giving you the real, go ahead and investigate it and see if it's coming out exactly the way I told you. We did not arrive at this conclusion for no reason. We arrived here because this is exactly where we're supposed to be. This is exactly where we're supposed to be. And we're going to keep it on moving on. By the way, here, thank you to everybody here who's giving out subscriptions here for the channel here, giving out memberships, Black Powder Podcast, Logic Before Emotion, everybody else here who's done that here tonight. Thank you very much for giving the gift that keeps on giving, RW and everybody else. I want to thank you all for that. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work. That is blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, The Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.